Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It's been a while. It's the Nen Show Podcast. Yeah. Hello. It's me, your host, Craftsdwarf, remembering how I did this slowly but surely. And this is my co-host, Mathwiz. Say hello, Mathwiz.
Hello, Mathwiz.
You're not supposed to do that. You never actually say hello. All right. I remember that much. Okay. All right. So we're back. And we're here to talk about One Piece, again, for the first time since we caught up caught up in quotation marks, with the Whole Cake Island.
Back in the before times.
The before times. Actually, I should look up and see when that was, because Wano was only, 150 chapters long. It literally only ended, late last year? Yeah, last year. And we're barely into this year, so not that long ago. Should have looked this up before I started recording. Years ago. So at almost 4 years ago, it was March 2019 when the last Whole Cake Island episode came out. So almost 4 years ago. And that's how long
and then
it's taken.
I would have gone through the Reverie myself and did.
Oh right, I didn't look. Yeah.
Yeah, that was also the same year. It was just a couple months later. So, I was definitely
Yes.
I did reread the Reverie portion because we'd be talking about it, and also I wasn't going to be able to just jump into Wano and years removed from the context. So I think I maybe had some issues with this reading more so just because it has been a while since I've consumed any One Piece in manga form.
Yeah, short. Right, exactly. So luckily, at least with there was a fair amount of recap stuff. There were little panels.
Yeah.
So hopefully it wasn't too bad. But anyway, before we get into One Piece, we're making some changes to the Nen Show. And I guess I also want to explain what we're doing exactly for what our plans are. So one of the changes is normally we read comments, but for various reasons we're probably just not gonna do it every episode. We might read comments and point out interesting ones, but it's not going to be a mandatory thing. Part of the reason, honestly, being that it was kind of arm twisting just to make it happen in the first place after a while.
Yeah, and, the number of times where I just forgot to read comments and had to look at it 10 minutes before recording.
Yeah, another reason that is it actually limits us in regards to uploads. Because we the episodes are dated, we can't record the second an episode until the previous one has come out. So by not responding to comments, we can actually we could pre-record episodes. So hopefully by the time this comes up, we'll actually have a backlog of episodes, so we can have leeway in regards to recording if we can't quite get it every 2 weeks. So
yeah.
Which hopefully should... So basically, by not responding to comments, we're allowing for more consistent uploads. And, if we're really into a series, we could even record it faster, potentially, in the future. So, that's just a limitation that we just decided to forego so that we can do more. As for our reading schedule, which goes into my next point, is... we'll be reading One Piece. It's going to be 4 episodes for Wano. This one's a little shorter because we're kind of easing ourselves back into it. Admittedly, it's by easing ourselves in, it's going to be 20 chapters, then 30 chapters, then 40 something chapters, then 50 chapters. So it's going up 10 plus chapters every reading. But we're still on some level easing ourselves into just reading more manga again.
But also considering that we are talking about the Reverie, and when I did my solo episode, that itself was an hour of discussion. So, easing into it, it's it's still One Piece. There's still going to be so much to talk about.
No, our shortest One Piece episodes were still longer than our longest Saint Seiya episode. Saint Seiya didn't even fucking break an hour. And I'm pretty sure we literally did 15 chapters. That was fucking Laboon and Whiskey Peak and Logtown, and that was still an hour and a half. So, One Piece just hits different, I guess. And it's me. I'm I think I've teased it somewhere before. Maybe it's on something that hasn't come out, but I'm probably going to end up doing a Wano video just because it's I'd be very surprised if there was 150 stretch of One Piece that I had almost nothing to say about. Because I already did do a video on the flashback in Act 3, But that was just a part of the arc, and now I have the full arc to work with. So I don't know, but it also depends on what other people have said. Anyway, that's off topic. So the plan is that after One Piece, we're going to do Boruto. We're going to read the Kawaki arc, or Ishiki's Vessel, whatever I decide to call it after I read it. I think the arc after that is still ongoing. But I think I've been told it's almost over. So they're working into the next arc. So maybe we'll do 2 Boruto readings. Maybe we'll just do another one later. I do want to catch up to the manga. But anyway, then the plan is to do another Patreon poll. So I just wanted to announce that now, because since it's been so long, like I haven't got, I like briefly checked the Patreon, but I haven't gone over and like, okay, who's still a patron? What was their thing? I'm just going to throw it all out. So if you're still a patron, or if you want to be a patron, you need to tell me, because especially because some of you guys have suggested a series like literally years ago, and maybe you don't want us to read it. Maybe you have something else you're more interested in hearing us talk about. So and I just don't want to try and keep track of it, because Patreon's message system isn't very good. But yeah, and you can message me elsewhere. Just make sure that if you're, like, say you message me on Discord, which actually I don't know if you can. Never mind. 100% you can do it on Patreon, for sure. That's definitely the easiest way. But if you do get in contact with me with somewhere else, then just make sure that if you can, make sure that if you're the name, you say your Patreon name, because that's the one I'm going to assign the pick to. Like, if I don't know who you are and I can't figure it out, I'm just not going to count the pick unless I know it's from whoever. Like, if you share a name on Discord as you do on Patreon, then I can figure it out. Otherwise, I can't. So just warning you. But yeah, so just message, especially on the Patreon, just send a message. This is a series I want you guys to read. If you have a reading or like arc, or just an arc list, like not I can divide it into the reading, but it's or you can suggest it for sure, but just more so I just want an arc list, so that'd be helpful. It's not necessary. So yeah, just like I said, the big thing is just like I'm starting over. So if you remember suggesting a series, you can resuggest the same series, but you just need to say it again, because I currently have a blank slate, and as I get messages, I'm going to add to the list basically, and then that list will be the poll that'll go up sometime towards the end of One Piece or Boruto. Yeah, I think towards the end of One Piece, and then when Boruto starts, we'll have decided what we're going to read next. Then we're going to read that series, and then we're going to go back to our blocks. We're going to be doing the blocks differently, in that we were doing the decade blocks for a while, and we did get to the 80s. But we'll probably just like be a bit more loose with those, just so we can more focus on series we want to read.
Yeah, because we kind of had certain issues in the past where it's like, getting into, maybe not necessarily with the block format necessarily, but I know like when we were reading, like, okay, we got to do Kinnikuman, and then we have Gintama, and then we got to do Saint Seiya, and it was kind of just like, I guess Dragon Ball was in there as well, but it was just sort of like
like Dragon Ball was, that, because I think that was your pick, where Kinnikuman was my pick and Gintama was a patron pick. And Gintama, so another thing is like, because with Gintama we really, really fucking should have taken a break in there, and done something else. Even if it's just a one-off, just something so that it's not Gintama, because it was 12 episodes. It's like one of the longest series we've done, and it was a lot. So yeah, we're just gonna try and be a bit less strict about certain things, just so that we can have more leeway and hopefully have not have that happen again with the burnout, because just it had a very noticeable effect on things.
Yeah, like I'm not too confident that I would have liked Gintama a whole lot more if we had read it under different circumstances, but like especially with the structure of it being very like episodic and chapters being very dense
and wordy, sure. And that's so yeah, with the patron picks is basically, I guess what I'm saying is, if we get a long pick, we might just not read it all at once. We might be breaking it up, even especially because like my one fear, is probably Hajime no Ippo, because that's like one of the longest manga we haven't gone through yet.
Yeah.
And I've already read it. I read it last year. I really like it, but I can't say for sure that you would like it. And so like even if you do like it, it's still like, it's literally 1,300 chapters. It's 130 plus volumes. It's longer than One Piece. And it's also just like, I don't think like there's a lot of good and interesting things about it, but as it's not like dense to talk about in the same way that some of the other series we have are. And like it's one of my favorite manga. It's just like, you know, as far as the Nen Show goes, I'm not looking forward to talking about it if we end up doing that. So and then there's a few other long series we haven't talked about, like JoJo I could see being more interesting to talk about, but it's also pretty long. Kenichi's History's Strongest Disciple is one of the other long ones we haven't talked about. You know, so just basically anything long I'm worried about, just because I don't want to be trapped there for, you know, 12 episodes and neither of us are having fun, right? So
yeah, I think definitely that was also like the length of Gintama, because it's not like, you know, I don't want to be reading things that I could dislike, because I still think that could have valuable like perspectives on, like, you know, if it's something like a Saint Seiya, which has its like influence in Shonen Jump, but sometimes it's just like, you know, can be like 4 episodes into a series and it's like, oh god, we still have like 10 more of these to go, and it kind of gets, yeah, it can be exhausting.
Yeah, and I guess another thing to add on is as far, because I mentioned One Piece and Boruto, there are 2 other series that we could potentially continue. Saint Seiya we probably will continue, because there was still the
Lost Canvas
prequel series. Yes, thank you. I was like, LC. what was the LC stand for? I just couldn't. So that
LC, Lost Cause. We're giving up on
Lost Cause. No, that's Kinnikuman Nisei, which was recently apparently, yeah, because it's divided into 2 series, and the first series is like fully translated as of like with it literally the last week of this recording. And then it has a second Kinnikuman Nisei series, and then there's the Kinnikuman continuation. We're not reading any of it on the Nen Show because I'm interested in it, because I did not loathe Kinnikuman, but I'm not putting Mathwiz through something I expect she's not going to enjoy, even if it gets better. And like even literally just like I literally saw like one scene from Kinnikuman Nisei, which literally involved the main character taking a shit into a toilet shaped antagonist, and I'm like, yeah, look, even if there's like really good stuff going on, especially in like the Kinnikuman continuation, I don't think we can go through that again, because Kinnikuman was one of it was like Gintama fucking punched the shit out of, you know, like our, you know, Mathwiz mostly, and then Kinnikuman was just like the cross counter, the finishing blow that just like floored her for the rest of the Nen Show up to now, and I just don't want to risk that again. So, you know, sorry for Kinnikuman fans who really wanted us to talk about it, but like,
yeah, I'm like,
if it was talk about it,
like if it was even a consideration, I wouldn't have wanted to do it like anytime soon, because, you know, like I want to reestablish the Nen Show and get it back up consistently. And so when it's like, okay, third in line, Kinnikuman Nisei, and yeah, like I don't know, like Craftsdwarf was getting at, I don't know if you want us to be reading a series if it's like, you know, I'm not going to be approaching it in good faith because I didn't enjoy the original.
Right, like, yeah, it's, you know, because I know we said something, especially in Gintama, like later on when everyone thinks it's like fucking a masterpiece, we were just like, yeah, it's more Gintama, you know, we got some things out of it, but, you know, when the comments are more interesting than what we're talking about, it's like, do you really want us to talk about it? Like, I don't know. I mean, I did feel like I had some interesting things to bring up regarding Kinnikuman, but I'm still only half the podcast, and you know, there's no point, you know, and which is like, you know, why One Piece is perfect to start with, and then Boruto, because like, you know, we both really like Naruto and One Piece. You know, One Piece was like, it's my favorite manga, and it's like it's still one of your favorite manga, right? I don't think it's your, you know,
yeah,
sure, at least, yeah, because I just remember when we did read it, you said that it was then it was your favorite manga, but you expected Hunter x Hunter to surpass it, and I'm pretty sure it did, because of course it did. It's fucking Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah.
And then you've had some other favorite manga that I don't know if they're better than, you'd like them more than One Piece, but, you know, I wouldn't be surprised, I guess, if that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, because like at the time it was easy to say One Piece was my favorite manga because I hadn't read Hunter x Hunter yet, and now it's like,
yeah,
you know, it's not like a competition in that way. It's still like One Piece is still a fucking 10 out of 10, and like I will be very excited to be like current on it, and just, yeah.
Well, even then, it's like I don't remember. Had you read Bloom Into You at that point? Like, what other favorite manga have you had? Gone through since reading One Piece?
That's
it's been
true.
Almost 4 years. So it's not even just like of course you think like other things than One Piece. It's more like you're a different fucking person.
Ayakashi Triangle greater than One Piece.
Let's go. Yeah. Anyway. So I think that about covers it for things I want to mention.
I know you did mention, like, just in terms of, like, contacting you, like, not, maybe just something we haven't really talked about it because I only thought of the idea just now, but, like, I guess it's, like, maybe possible that I could, like, I have the Discord server, you're on it, maybe I just make, like, a Nen Show channel, but that's something we can,
that could work.
Figure out.
So, because I have a server. I think it's still active. I'm not on it anymore. I just was not, I don't know, in a space to be being active on social media in general, and I had problems with the server, so I just left it, and I have no interest in going back. But Mathwiz's server is public and available, so, and I'm on that server. So yeah, if she makes just a Nen Show channel, or just on a content discussion channel, if you message me or us, I'll see the message, and with your Nen Show pick, just again, make sure if your Discord name is different than your Patreon name, make sure you mention your Patreon name.
Yeah, I assume if that's what we decide to do, because obviously this is pre-recorded, so I'll just, like, I'll make sure that we have, like, an invite link in the description or something if people want to, like, go there for Nen Show reasons. So if it's not there, then you'll know that I decided against it for whatever reason.
All right. But yeah, it's so yeah, that sounds like Patreon or possibly Mathwiz's Discord for the patron pick, which the poll should hopefully be coming out with Wano episode 3. We'll see how it goes. Maybe Wano episode 4. I don't know exactly. We'll figure out later. That's later. This is now. Now we're finally talking about One Piece again. Reverie. Okay, it doesn't actually start with Reverie. Fuck, never mind. I opened my book that's in front of me, and it's like Sanji and the Sunny, and I'm like, never mind. We're not going to Reverie yet. But yeah, I guess or no, do I think I normally ask you before we start, but yeah, what are your general thoughts on this reading so far? Because I know you already read Reverie, which this is your first time rereading something of One Piece for the so just go ahead.
Yeah, so, like, obviously I had read the Reverie before, and I don't know if I'm going to remember everything that I said in that discussion, but I remember, like, the Reverie being very dense and a lot of, like, I don't want to say world building, that feels like a buzzword, but, like, a lot of details going on, different events with, like, the Revolutionary Army and the politics and the stuff like that, and, like, that part, rereading that was, like, I'm glad that I read it before so I could, like, go back and refamiliarize myself with, like, where are we in the story, what was happening when I left off, and, like, the Reverie in particular feels like a really good point for jumping back into it because it has all that recap for, like, people who were just getting into One Piece weekly at that time. And just, like, catching people up on, like, hey, here's what these characters are, here's what they did. So I did enjoy rereading the Reverie. I think I maybe had some difficulties. I think it was a combination of just, like, getting back in the swing of, like, reading manga for the Nen Show and also, like, getting back into reading One Piece after several years. I don't think this initial reading quite grabbed me in the way that, like, the beginning of other arcs have. But I don't know if that's necessarily, like, the arc's fault. It definitely still had things that I enjoyed in it, but I think I'm kind of still waiting to really be, like, sucked into this arc. And I mean, it's a big one, so there's still plenty of time for it to do it.
No, yeah, this arc is very, like, Reverie was, the more in-between, world-building stuff. And then with Act 1 of Wano, it's just lots of establishing of things. And so for me, rereading it is like, I see where things are going, and I know where it goes, and I know that, we are not at the best of Wano, even though I still really enjoyed the reading. it's still, it's good. It's One Piece. I had a lot of fun reading it still.
Yeah, and I remember you telling me about how, like, Wano is in this kind of, like, Kisho Tenketsu, the, like, 4-act structure.
Not quite.
Not quite?
Not that one. I'll talk about it, because I'll explain why the theory came about, because it is in this reading. But it was a different act structure, which now that you mention I will Google that and pull. No, I understand, because like that one is important to know, because like 4 comas, it's a very popular structure.
Yeah.
In just lots of Asian media in general, and maybe plug it. I'll link the Pause and Select and the Cynic Clinic videos on the structure, which might be why they came to mind, because like here's these notable
That's the one I'm most familiar
talking
with
about
now.
it. Yeah. And so it's worth knowing about, but it isn't what I'll talk about what One Piece, or at least, well, because it's complicated, because it didn't quite pan out in the way that I initially expected it to. So I'll bring up why I thought, or what I heard, and but I'll
yeah, because I guess I just remembered you talking to me about whatever the structure was, and then me remembering that conversation, I just substituted the other term that I remember
for sure.
involving arc structure. My bad.
All right, so you're good. I understand. But anyway, before we get into that, so first chapter, Sanji picked up a raid suit from his brothers, and he got like sort of like, I guess, feel like, power up building because Nami has Zeus, and Zeus is a little idiot. And of course, bounty updates. With the big one being Luffy's bounty is tripled.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the gag where Luffy's like, my bounty went down, and it's like, no, you idiot, you just can't count. But like going through that chapter where, I think I mentioned this in my solo discussion, where I was like, initially you read that and it's like, oh, why would his bounty go down? What, how does that factor into things? And it's just like, nope, he just can't read.
he's just like dead. He's just so sad. It's the saddest little pirate boy. And then it's like, nope. And then like, the way the end of the chapter is like, Luffy, you can't count. And they all lose their fucking shit. But yeah, then we kind of get like, the view around the world of everyone reacting. Like we see Crocodile in full. We see a bunch of characters going to Reverie, and fucking Beiji and Big Mom are pissed off because Luffy, like, how did I lose? And obviously they like the way Morgan's credited Luffy. I think they mentioned this chapter where it's like, he was the mastermind of the whole incident, pulling together the Fire Tank Pirates and Derma, and when it's like Luffy in actuality is like literally can't even count the numbers on his bounty properly. It's good. It's very, just more One Piece silliness with the bounties.
Yeah, it is interesting the way that it's framed, where it's sort of like, because it's like Big Mom didn't really like, like in the sense of like, I guess it's just interesting how it does get portrayed in that way. Because it's like, from Big Mom's perspective, it's like, they got away, but like they didn't defeat me. I don't know. It's
right,
cool.
like, no, yeah, she's just has no self-awareness that, like, she lost her castle. Like, she has the biggest blow ever struck against her, because from what was mentioned, Gold Roger only snuck into the country to steal the poneglyph rubbing, basically. So, like, he didn't do this level of damage when he got what he wanted from Big Mom. So Luffy, fucking hit her hard pretty much, and she's just like, what? How did I lose? It's like, that's how you lost, idiot.
Yeah.
And then we also see the other emperors, like Blackbeard and Shanks, and it's just like, yeah, it's happening. And I think this is also the first time we see Kobe post-time skip in the manga. I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but obviously I wouldn't.
Well, I mean, no. I'm asking. I just realized. Sorry, I'm asking the wrong person. Like, no, it's just like you.
Yeah, I believe you. You're the One Piece expert.
Last time, look, you nod, like having not having touched One Piece in literal. Well, because the thing is, Kobe actually appeared before this in the anime. There was one of the yearly specials they used to do where it was called the Hand Island special episode of Luffy, and Kobe's post-time skip Kobe appeared in that. And we saw his post-time skip appearance well before this happened in the manga. So that's why I guess it's a little notable. Even if I remember correctly, that special was also fucking dog shit. Don't watch it. I hate the way they write Luffy in it because they just make him like stupid when like, yeah, he's a little goofball and he's, you know, ignorant in some ways and just doesn't give a shit. But I'm not sure if, you know, we've talked about Luffy's intelligence. I wouldn't call him like just outright stupid. I mean, except I think it's funny, but he's not like the way he's written as an idiot in that special rubbed me the wrong way, and it didn't feel like
now
Luffy.
You're just reminding me of all the One Piece movies and some of the ones that I remember not liking. I'm like, do we do a bonus episode on the movies?
I'd have to rewatch some of them. I'm not opposed to it, but I just need to set aside that kind of time. And I'm also planning on watching, not for a couple of years, because I have like my manga reread and my anime rewatch to finish, but I do want to watch One Piece in full. And like when I watch it, I'm probably going to start with the Ganzak special that came out before the Toei anime, and then just start with the Toei anime and watch every like movie and special and recap as like they were released, because the One Piece Wiki has a really good episode list that includes the release dates. So I'm going to watch everything. It'll just be a good while before I get around to it. Yeah.
Before I forget, I think I just remembered a point that I would have made in the original Reverie discussion. Where like the whole thing with Luffy becoming an emperor, to me, I think at the time had felt like it really solidified that, like, you know, the story up to this point, like it's always kind of been the Straw Hats like breaking the status quo, and like they're coming in and they're kind of like an unpredictable force, and they're like overthrowing all these like, you know, government officials or people in power, things like that. But like with Luffy becoming the 5th Emperor of the Sea, it's now like you know, this is the new status quo. Like they're not really like the underdogs punch. I mean, they're still punching up in a lot of ways, but it's more like now they are a force in the world that like now everyone recognizes, and that being really cool. Like a cool development, and seeing how that will I guess be integrated like with the rest of the material going forward.
Yeah, no, because like that, that is a good point about like the changing status quo, but also like you kind of see a glimpse of one of the things I like a lot about Reverie, where because Kobe saves and helps out with the Dressrosa ship, and like the way that Rebecca is like, "Are you a fan of Luffy too? Want to talk about Luffy?" And Kobe's like, "No, he's my enemy. I'm not a Luffy fan." And just like the way like. I'm jumping ahead a bit. I just love the Luffy fan club that happens on Reverie, where you have all these characters who've been saved by Luffy because he is a positive influence on the world in spite of the world government. So you have all these government officials and important people who are just like, Luffy? Yeah, he's the best. I love Luffy. Like, and it's like, but they can't be too loud about it because it's like he's literally like one of the worst enemies of the government right now.
Yeah,
but it's like I just love it, and like these interactions. God.
I feel like Luffy also having that impact on people who are like a part of the current system, you know, with like Vivi being a princess and, you know, all the other, you know, princesses of these different kingdoms. It's like, you know, it seems like it has like planted the seed of there potentially being like meaningful change, which is like part of what the Reverie is kind of all about. And like with the fishmen coming to the surface, and it just seems really cool, and like you know, a bunch of cool things could happen, and I'm excited.
Yeah, and actually, so you reminded me of so one thing, because I've been reading One Piece Weekly for a while, and it was just kind of neat because like at least among some of my friends who talked about One Piece, I just remember being like, because I was just trying to think of, I just was one day thinking about the Reverie that was coming up, and just remembering all these characters who could be there because of all these like royalty. And I just remember thinking, like, this is going to be a big deal. And I was telling my friends about it. And it was just interesting watching the community slowly also, like, because I just remember a meme. So as far as, like, I just remember seeing a meme. So I don't know about the full hype. But, like, me and my friends got more hyped up for it as it was coming up. But then I remember seeing a community meme where it's like, the One Piece community going into Reverie was like, oh, boring politics. I don't want any of that. Let's go to Wano. We've been wanting to go for Wano forever. And then after Reverie is done, it's like, no, wait. Go back. Reverie was fucking. No, I want more Reverie. You know, because it's just like the fuck. Some insane shit happens at Reverie, okay? And it's you know, it's a really good little you know, in between world arc stuff. So it's just you know, so it's just kind of neat seeing like because I felt like I independently like was like, yeah, Wano Reverie's gonna be a big fucking thing, and it was a big fucking thing, and I was like, hey, yeah, because I just mostly need to see my friends warm up to the idea, and then eventually Reverie happened, and being like every week was like, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck, and then it's like, okay, we're going to Wano, and it's like, no, I think as far as the cover story goes, we finished the Straw Hat Grand Fleet one, and I think that we only really see like Orlumbus, who is just like the Avenger, who's just like this terrible pirate, and I don't know, there's because he's a character I think he didn't really stand out in Dressrosa, but for me the cover story really like. I don't know. I like what it does with him, where he's just like, I'm gonna go be a pirate, so I'm gonna leave my kingdom, and then I'm gonna go raid this island. But this island, they're all poor, so we're gonna give them our supplies and become heroes. It's like our first expedition as a pirate was an absolute failure, and it's just like, but he's like a good person. Like he's too good of a person to be a pirate. I don't know. I don't know. I just thought it was endearing. So anyway, then we get introduced to the Revolutionary Army commanders. As per usual, they're a bunch of fucking weirdos. But yeah, I do like how they fit with the, Miracle's idea where they kind of push the people to fight for themselves and all that. But yeah.
Yeah, like that whole sequence of, like you said, the people fighting for themselves and like, giving them the power and the aid to meaningfully like fight back against the people. It was a really cool sequence. And the Revolutionary Army seems cool. A lot of the times, like, they've kind of been just sort of a force in the background, so it was really cool to, like, get to see, like, who all these people are, and just knowing that, like, they're gonna do a bunch more stuff, and it's gonna be big.
Yep. Now we're finally getting to Reverie proper. We get all these fucking like Fujitora's there. Like there's so many characters who just like new characters, old characters, like T-Bone, the guy who fought Zoro on Rocket Man, is there, and he's the one talking to Sakanzuki in the room. Then there's just so many minor characters who show up, and major characters just in the background, and just so many references. Like I'm pretty sure there's one. Yep, I see it. So wait, no, is this a spoiler? Shit, I don't remember. Never mind.
I know I did see Oda, like, in the SBS, pointing out, like, people were like, oh, is this character from this thing? And it's like, yeah, you caught that. Cool. Just a lot of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so, and then, we get Garp. And also we get, I want to talk a bit about King Stelly.
This fucker.
Yeah. This fucker, who, like, yeah, he's a complete piece of shit, but also, like, I think I picked up on, hold on. Did I talk about him in the Justice video? No. Yes. Because you edited the Justice video, right? The Marine one?
Yes.
Yes, and I think did I talk about him in that video?
I don't remember.
Because you might have read Reverie, so you were able to edit that part, but, anyway, whatever. I'm just gonna bring up my points. I know I talked about in a video before, because like he's just like, I mean, he's both like what the government like is and what a lot of people in the under the government are. Like the way he reacts to the fishmen and giants and stuff, where he's the person that like he needs to interact with the fishmen so he can come to understand that. Like he's the person Otohime was talking about when she's like, we need to go up to the surface so people can understand us better. Like remember during the Fishman Island flashback. Koala was like telling the fisherman pirates like they just don't know anything about you, so they're afraid of you because they don't know anything. And here's Stelly, who's just incredibly ignorant and just stupid. He's like, oh my god, if I touch them, I'm gonna get diseased. Because fishmen spread diseases with the touch. Like he's a piece of shit, but he's ignorant and it's like. In that way, I can't really blame him because, like, there aren't, Goa Kingdom, there were fishermen in the East Blue, but he didn't, clearly as a noble wouldn't have ever interacted with them. And so he's just, he isn't able to challenge these wrong-headed beliefs that he's now, like, set in.
Yeah, it's kind of just, like, his perception is all of, like he's one of the people where it's like, oh, the government is like, we need to, like, the fishmen are like this, and we need to keep them away, and blah, 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 blah. And he just has, like, all the default assumptions that are,
Exactly.
racist and bad, and he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, well, especially what makes him a piece of shit is also, I think, weirdly enough, what makes him more, like, different from a lot of the other royalty we've seen. Actually, yeah, pretty much, except for, like, fucking Doflamingo, I think. And that in that way, he's, basically, he's ambitious, which is interesting. Because, like, they like, they even say that Goa Kingdom's produced a lot of fucking characters, like Ace and Sabo and Luffy and Dragon, and Stelly is, like, as a king, he wants to continue to climb higher, and that specifically, like, that trait, because, like, I can't think of any other king except for, like, Doflamingo, who was, very much, like, it wasn't really as a king, he just sort of wanted to go back to where he was as a heavenly dragon, where Stelly, like, because, he was just a noble, then he married, like, it literally says he married into the family, and then, the king and his son mysteriously died, like, shortly after, and it's like, I wonder what happened. But I think what's interesting about that, and I think the point I made in one of my videos, was that, like, because Stelly, like, asks Garp, he's like, hey, how do I be one of those heavenly dragons? I want to be a heavenly dragon. They got pretty cushy. And Garp's like, oh, you mean those fucking pieces of trash? And it's like, you're not supposed to say that. And Garp doesn't give a fuck.
And then Garp's just like, never mind, forget I said that. And he's just like, what?
Garp's so good. And then he sees the throne, and he's like, yeah, it's a symbolic thing where no king is allowed to sit on that because all the 20 nations are equal. And Stelly's like, I want to sit on that. I want to go on that. Like, so as a king, like, he wants to be the king of the pirates, but for actual kings. He wants to literally be the king of the world, right? Like, he's the Luffy of kings, if that makes sense, in a weird, twisted way. But what I thought was interesting about that is, and that I brought up in the video, was that, like, he can't, because the heavenly dragons are all about, like, you are born this way, and no one else, no one else can be like this because they're gods. Stelly is a human, and he could never, like Doflamingo, he can never become a god, right? Like with Doflamingo, he could never return to being a god because he was pushed down, and Stelly was never up there in the first place. So basically, like, his ambition is actually, like, against what the government wants and what it allows for, which I just think it's an interesting way, because, like, as a king who is gifted with this power to abuse others, like, he's an evil piece of shit who gets away with a lot of shit, and he's ultimately, like, still not considered human by the heavenly dragons, and he's still just as liable to be thrown away or tossed away, and so I just thought it was, like, it's just, he offers, like, an interesting point in the series regarding its big conflict, because obviously Luffy doesn't care about blood, and he'll resist authority, where Stelly is beholden to authority, but also, like, he wants for something that he can't get because of the systems that he's in. And I don't know, maybe it'll amount to something. Maybe he's just gonna be a useless piece of shit for the rest of the series. I don't know, but it's just like, I don't know, I got something out of this relatively minor character.
Yeah, like, he also, I feel like the takeaway I kind of got from him was that, like, he seems to really, like, want power for power's sake, and it's kind of like, well, what is he gonna do when he has that throne? But he's like, I don't know, I just want to sit on it. Like, yeah, he wants to be ruler of the world, but it's like, okay, like, what is he trying to do with that power? It just kind of seems like he wants to be important.
No, for sure. Like, because, yeah, again, I brought up Luffy, but really, like, Luffy just wants freedom. But yeah, Stelly definitely, like, he likes having power, and he likes looking down at, like, he's a piece of shit. Don't get me wrong. I just got some things out of the way he's a piece of shit. Also,
yeah.
But yeah, I do like how, like, Garp, like, because Garp doesn't give a fuck about it in a lot of ways, and just, he has, like, yeah, Shiraho, she's like, Luffy's grandfather. So I don't know, they were nice.
I also really like the part where they're, like, up on the bubbles, and
yes.
And then one of the knights you see is Sabo, and it's like, because it's like, oh, Sabo and Stelly, but it's like, oh.
Yeah, Stelly doesn't even recognize his literal, like, adoptive brother, who is one of the most infamous criminals in the world, and yeah. But I thought you were gonna mention before that where the fishmen see the sun from the highest point they've ever been, and they're just like, this is a beautiful world, and we want the world of the sun. That's what the fishmen have been chasing, and and it's just a very good. I don't know. I think because I love Fishman Island, and so seeing the ways that arc works, like, and these characters work in the Reverie is really nice. Yeah.
I and on that note, I also like all the things where Shirahoshi is just like pointing out these mundane things, like, is this one of your famous forests? Like, this must be the famous birds. And like, you know, when she points at the forest, it's like that's a tree.
Yes, and the way the birds panel is laid out, it reminds me of the one meme where he's like with the butterfly, and it's like, is this a bird? And like it's just facing the opposite direction, but it's but yeah, no, that's a good gag with the famous birds. It's like, yeah, that's how it works. God, she's good. So yeah, then yeah, they get to the top. We learn about the travelators that are literally run by slave labor. Where Stelli's like, yeah, I want to use this. I want to install one of these on Goa, and the fishmen are like, yeah, this gives me a weird feeling. Let's just like walk, like, you know, regular ways.
Yeah, I did appreciate that. You know, the fishmen were kind of like, this seems off. Let's not.
But yeah, then you get the bunch of dudes, you know, hitting on Shirahoshi, and she's just
you're not my type.
Not
They're like, no, you have to be more like diplomatic about it.
They're like, like the way Fukaboshi, because he's like, oh, that's a local saying for I'm not married either. Like he's using their ignorance, their you know, inevitable ignorance on fishmen and fishman culture as a way to like protect his sister.
Yeah.
Like, which is just, I don't know, and just she's just like, I don't know what to do. I'm not good at like, she's because I mentioned it before. She's basically like stunted because she's lived in a tower for most of her life. She's still like mentally like fucking 7. So poor baby. And then we get Vivi. Let's go. I'm sorry, it's just exciting. You know, she's basically a Straw Hat almost. And her interacting with you know, Rebecca. Like, I don't know, Karu just being so pissed off that Vivi finds Leo cute. And
oh yeah, that's a really good interaction.
He's just like Death Claire. Oh man.
So you're over here marking out about Vivi. My reaction was like, Karu.
Yeah, that's fair. No, that's fair. He's a silly little duck man. And then of course Shirahoshi, just fucking huge lady, is just like, are you guys talking about Luffy? She's the Luffy fan club. I love the Luffy fan club. It's so good. You know, and then like it's neat seeing like Walpole and Dalton again. You know, and Dalton's like, no, we're even now. You're not. You don't fucking call me a servant, you bitch.
Yeah, it's so interesting seeing like you both get the callbacks of like all the characters who are familiar with each other, but then you also get like all these new interactions between like characters who would have had no reason to meet before this, and it's just like,
right.
Yeah, it's so cool seeing how like, you know, they're able to like connect to each other through Luffy and other things like that.
Oh fuck, that was this. I gotta put the book down. That was this chapter. But yeah, no, yeah, that's really great. I just love all these little interactions and just seeing the way these characters click together. And then we get one of the fucking strangest and most baffling fucking things in the entire series that even like 150 chapters later has no follow-up whatsoever.
Okay.
Mathwiz, what the fuck? I'm just living it because like literally the whole fucking. I mean, I've heard at least one good theory on it, maybe, but it's also just like, Mathwiz, what the fuck?
The giant straw hat.
Yeah. So we see. They call him Imu. I personally just call him Im. I-M. Though it's usually spelled I-M-R because I believe it's the name of a Norse giant, one of the frost giants, which ties to the you know, because One Piece has a lot of like Nordic references, okay, you know, like the giants and stuff. So I mean, basically, I'm just like, I mean, because I just personally like, you know, if I like a certain term better, I'll use it. Like I try to say Heavenly Dragon instead of Celestial Dragon because like we have the Heavenly Demon and the Heavenly Tributes. So why are we calling this one thing differently? I don't know. But it's like, that's what the official says. I understand why, especially because like we got that way earlier. Like I understand why. I just, you know, especially with the knowledge I have now, I just don't agree with it as a translation. So I just personally say Im rather than Imu because he ain't a bird. No, I don't mind people. I know what you're talking about. That's what's important. But So yeah, we see this fucking character, and then yeah, they go into this fucking room, and there's Joe, and there's just a straw hat. There's just sitting a giant fucking straw hat in the capital world, like frozen over, and it's like what? So the theory that I've heard is that like it's something because like Doflamingo is implying that he knows something because because like he needs to be silenced because he knows some kind of secret, and like we literally get this right after, so this is presumably something that all the other heavenly dragons know about, and maybe it's like I don't know. I think I forget. I don't even remember who the theory came from anymore. It's been so long, but like the idea is that it's basically a prophet. It's basically something prophetic saying that like this is a symbol that is dangerous to the world government, and so maybe that seems reasonable, but it's just like I have no fucking idea at the end of the goddamn day. It's so weird. Man. But yeah, I don't know if you've had anything to add or suggest.
Well, I did really like, because I remember like Doflamingo having that line in the war about like, the people with power are the ones who make the rules or something to that effect. And like he has something here about like power having a short shelf life, and like it's like, well, okay, you can keep the secret safe with me, but like it's gonna get out eventually anyway. Like someone's
sure.
eventually gonna overthrow this.
No, yeah, I think that maybe that was where it's just like, because I think we even kind of see the whole same thing with Whole Cake Island, where like everything that worked against Big Mom was also of her own doing, basically. Like the way she treated her family with putting in Katakuri, especially, like worked against her. And I think that's the exact same thing. That's how things are going with the government, where like everything is falling apart for them in various ways, and it's just going to keep getting worse. And they're going to try to hold on to their powers for as long as they can, but it has power as a shelf life. It's going to go bad, and and we're just seeing their empire crumble, and Luffy's going to be the linchpin, I'm sure, to that. So yeah, it's going to be satisfying because these guys are evil fuckers. But anyway, then we get so apparently Kaido and Big Mom have a fucking history together. Because she's talking about how she's going to come to Wano and fuck Luffy's shit up. And Kaido's like, don't you fucking come into my territory. I will end you.
God, and yeah, like seeing where this reading left off and like seeing how much of a force Kaido is. So it's like, for Big Mom to also show up, it's like, where the fuck does this arc go?
Yeah, it's intense for sure. Because these are, like, because like, before, back after Water 7, we saw briefly, like, the government was trying to stop, like, Shanks and Whitebeard from meeting because they were fucking shook at the idea of two emperors together could, end the world government potentially if they were driven enough. And so here's fucking, Big Mom and Kaido, but they, at the end of the day, it's like, well, we got other shit going on, and they're going to Wano, which is, like, outside of our jurisdiction, so they just let it happen. Apparently, or they're ready to let it happen, rather.
Yeah, I think there's a lot kind of interesting about Wano as, like, a setting or a set piece for One Piece, but we can get to that, like, once we're done with the Reverie part.
And we're actually at Wano, right? We also get an important name drop that, we'll get more on later, but Rocks, are, so that's, apparently who they mention is, well, it's tied to Garp and why he's a hero, and it also, there were, what's the line? It's like, before Roger, it was Rocks, I guess, is what they say. So, a notable pirate of some sort, but, that'll come up later, and, but it's, just a little thing name to note. Though I will add that, because you read the official translation?
Yeah.
Or did you read it on the Viz app, actually?
No, I read the volume release.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Oh no, that's right. It goes 90. Never mind. You said that it went up to 96 earlier and I was like, well, okay. I was thinking of like the later volumes. It's like, okay, but no, it's like we're at volume 90, so you do have it. So it's spelled ROX.
Yeah.
Okay, because I just want to say this because sometimes some people do the other I don't. It might have even been Viz at from their weekly release. But I've just seen people spell it ROCKS, like rocks, as in like a physical rock, which they're pronounced the same. But just if you see someone mentioning like spell like a name rocks, then they're talking about the same character. So which you'd probably figure, but if you've seen it around, just wanted to let you know of a example of where it's just a spelling difference at the end of the day. But but yeah, anyway, then we get Stelly and the empty throne, and we get fucking that Saint Charlos, that piece of fucking shit, hasn't learned a goddamn thing at all from getting a fucking, and Luffy's not here to punch him out, unfortunately. But at least I do like how the first person to act is Leo, who's one of Luffy's subordinates. But and then Sai's right after him, but then fucking Rob Lucci comes in, which is just I don't know, it's just here you got fucking Vivi cussing out Rob Lucci, and I'm just it's just Reverie, it's got all these characters, and you got, like you said, these characters who would never have anything to do with each other, and now they're able to be face to face, as far as Luffy fan club goes, he's the anti-Luffy fan club. So and he's just quoting how the world works, and it's and of course you get the scene where Neptune's he's literally about to throw everything away because to protect his family, because of course he is, and but then fucking Don Quixote Miosgard, that the former piece of shit from Fishman Island, who Otohime's legacy and who she's been able to change, has helps them out, and it's just it's good.
Yeah, that was a really cool reveal.
And of course, this is the third character with the surname Don Quixote who is not a piece of shit, because we had Doflamingo's dad, Corazon, and now Miosgard. So I think they even mentioned man, those what is with the Don Quixote family? They're all a bunch of fucking weirdos. Because for the Heavenly Dragons, someone with humanity is apparently a fucking weirdo. And then we get another just fucking the fucking hat where it's just Oda just throws something at you.
There were so many scenes like that in this arc.
And it's are we gonna get any follow up to that? Nope. Fuck you. So yeah, Shanks is just in there. Shanks! Red-haired fucking Shanks, one of the 4 emperors, is in there talking to the 5 elder stars. What? They even mentioned it's because it's you, I guess, whatever that means. And they literally let one of the most infamous and dangerous people talk to the highest, second highest authority in the world. They fucking let a pirate into the because sorry, this is still mind fucking to me, okay? Oh, sorry, I'm just God, One Piece does this to One Piece got me fucking lose my mind every fucking time, I swear to God. Sorry.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of kind of shady shit going on, or various forms of corruption in how things are run. And so the fact that Shanks can just walk in and just talk to the 5 elders, it's wait a minute, that's not supposed to be how this works. What's going on there?
Yeah, right? God damn. There's just so much I want to know.
Yeah, I really enjoy how One Piece handles its political stuff, and the way that the government and these people in power are portrayed, where there's a lot of little ripple effects to different decisions, and also just the the corruption involved in with the whole system, with the Heavenly Dragons, and just all of it. It's so
no, and just because when I step back and think about it, it's okay, it's just one dude talking to a bunch of other dudes, a pirate talking to a bunch of government officials, but then the fact that it's this pirate and it's these government officials, it just has this it's literally just not even a full it's a full page and a little bit more, and it's just makes me lose my fucking mind. So oh boy. But yeah, there's not much more to say about it aside from just what speculation on what the fuck. But even then, I assume he wants to talk about Luffy, but I don't know.
Yeah, because he's just there's a pirate I want to talk about, and it's is it Luffy?
Well,
is
actually,
it someone else?
It could be Blackbeard. Because Blackbeard's into some shit, and obviously Shanks has a beef with Blackbeard. Blackbeard knows more than he's letting on. And there's other things about him that we'll find out that Ooh, and obviously he's been built up as like Luffy's. I feel like, you know, it's like Luffy or no, it's like Blackbeard's his biggest contrast as a pirate. Like they're so similar in many ways, but then they're completely opposite in so many other ways, more so than any other character. Like, and just the way the first, you know, in Jaya, where it's like, ew, this tastes good, ew, this tastes like or that or whatever, and then the cherry pies, and it's like you know, they're just like they're immediately built up as opposites, and it's like.
Yeah, what a character introduction that was. All the way like, back.
Fucking 800 chapters, 900 or 700 chapters ago. And yeah, I'm just like I've been on like with my thing with Blackbeard, as I think I've said before, is like I expect him to be like one of, if not, you know, my absolute favorite One Piece antagonist by the time the story's over. I just like, I don't know, I have so much anticipation for him, and God, so yeah, maybe he does want to talk about Blackbeard, because Blackbeard is probably the most dangerous person to the world, I think. Because like I think Luffy is ultimately Luffy might be the most dangerous person to the world government, but Blackbeard is not a good influence, and
no,
you know, so maybe it is. I don't remember if I thought that one before, but you know, maybe he does want to talk about Blackbeard. Because he tried to warn Whitebeard, and what happened? Whitebeard fucking died. The Whitebeard pirates are gone. It didn't go well. He fucking warned him, man. So, yeah. Oh, boy. So anyway, back to Reverie. You know, Miosgard gives his blessing to the fishmen. And then we also get Julie Bonnet slipping into, you know, where the Heavenly Dragons live, to seeing Bartholomew Kuma, the invincible slave. That's a thing that happens.
Yeah, I still don't really know what to make of that, even on the reread. I'm like, where's that going? Like, does she have some sort of connection to Kuma?
No, yeah, like, because I think I've said it before, but like Kuma is just one of the most mysterious characters in One Piece, because it's like, you know, he was a revolutionary, because he was there in the flashback with Ivankov and Dragon on Goa after, you know, Luffy and Sabo and all that shit happened. Then now he's a warlord, or he was a warlord, and you know, and then he was turned into like a robot, and I don't know, just like lots of things with questions that we need answers. And then now Julie Bonnet is involved somehow, and it's like I don't know what's
there's so many moving parts in this little mini arc of just like, you know, there's all the political figures, but then there's also all of these people who have slipped in undercover, and it's like, where's that gonna go? Like how much of the discussion stuff is actually gonna get accomplished?
Right. But yeah, as you mentioned, slipping in like right as we get to the revolutionaries, talking about how, you know, because obviously Kuma was their comrade, and they're there to declare war against the Heavenly Dragons, and then we get the actual Reverie starts, where we have this, you know, I just like the spread of all the fucking kings.
Yeah.
So many shapes and sizes, and fucking like the way like like you got here's the one who's obviously inspired by America, here's the one who's obviously inspired by Mexico, and it's just like, I don't know, they're silly. But yeah, the Reverie starts, and then the Reverie ends for us. Like it's like but then we get another fucking so yeah, the elders, the fucking 5 elder stars, you know, they're talking about fucking the balance of the world and the need for a great cleansing. Then they go to fucking Im, who is cutting up pictures. He's got like fucking Shirahoshi and Blackbeard and Luffy, and he's Vivi? Why is he holding Vivi? Because I mean, we know Vivi's important, because they even mention how, you know, the Nefeltari family is one of the 20 founding families that they just never became Heavenly Dragons. Then Im sits on the throne that no one's supposed to fucking sit on, and the 5 elders, who we've known to be the leading authority of the government, bow to him. And you might have noticed, if you remember, a panel very much like this during Doflamingo's flashback, where he was, as a kid, was standing on the trash heap, and he had his 4 men bow to him.
Oh.
Yeah.
I see.
Fucking Dressrosa, like, fucking does a lot of shit that builds in, like, seems to tie to what the overarching series is looking like. And then, they're gonna erase a name from history. I guess that's the thing that happens.
It's like, what does that mean?
God damn, it's just so cryptic, and we can guess, but it's like, it's just, how many fucking chapters is Oda just gonna drop shit like that and just be like, oh, okay, have fun with that, goodbye, and it's like, ah.
Yeah, it's also just like, it's so much to reveal that, like, oh, there's this system where it's like no one person is ever like fully in power controlling everything, but it's like, no, actually, there is a guy. What's his deal? Who knows?
Yeah, I am like,
just
I don't know,
more corruption, more things aren't what they are made out to appear as.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've always been super into the mystery in the world and things gradually being revealed and piecing together, and it's just like,
to be this late in the game and Oda's still dropping new cryptic shit.
Reverie was like 6 chapters we talked about for an hour, Math. Okay, less than an hour because we were doing like channel updates and stuff, but still like 40 plus minutes of just like, so almost as much as just you alone.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, but very fun stuff. And we're almost to Wano. We're not quite there yet. Because first we got the little scene with Mark of the Phoenix and Neko Mamushi. Because he's, he went there to recruit, see if Marco was going to help with the Wano stuff, but we get a bit more of a Whitebeard and his hometown, and that even ties to the Reverie stuff because we get the the heavenly tribute being brought up again, and God, I don't know, I like and the little characterization we get for Whitebeard where it's like Marco talking about how like he was a cheapskate, but they allowed it because they knew where his money was going to.
Yeah.
And good.
And now, an hour into the episode, we can finally get to Wano.
Let's go! Finally, the fucking arc that we actually, like, well, I mean, I count Reverie as part of Wano because, like, it's not really a spoiler, but, like, how, because that Wano's in an act structure, in between the acts, we get more of the in-between world-building stuff.
Oh my god.
So, yeah, we're not done. So Reverie ready. Is just... Yes, no, you are not. So Reverie is just kind of part of what we get later. So I just consider Reverie as part of Wano because it builds into it basically.
Yeah.
Like even the fact that we got like the Kaido and Big Mom talking, and like Big Mom's gonna go to Wano apparently. Like just shit, it just goes straight into it basically. So and then here we see what everyone's been up to in Wano. Like Frankie is a fucking great ass carpenter. Usopp is a toad oil salesman. Robin's a geisha, and Zoro can't fucking help himself. Because he's like, nope, sees corruption, he has to cut it. And Zoro fans fucking lost it, and because it is really cool when he cuts the fucking dude with the tiny seppuku blade.
Yeah.
And seppuku, Zoro's cool. Like, we'll stop. And yeah, they also remind you that his sword is, because, we talked about it with Thriller Bark, but Ryuma, he was in the one shot for Monsters that Oda drew fucking ages ago, and that is retroactively, or at least the character is from Wano. I don't know if I don't remember if it took place on Wano, but I don't know. I forget how they bring it up here, but they're just bringing him up again, and his sword that Zoro has, because it was stolen by Moria, presumably, because they got the corpse, so yeah, they definitely stole the sword as well. But,
God, and I love how, like, he doesn't just, like, strike the guy down. He fucking, like, cuts the building in half. It's just, it's such a cool panel.
Yeah, no, Zoro's fucking cool. But yeah, then we get back to the Luffy, and he's got a fucking, like, the way it introduces him, like it did a lot of the characters at Reverie, where it's like, 1.5 billion bounty, and it's like, yeah, let's go. And of course, Chopper reacting to seeing Kureha alive and well is adorable.
Yeah, and then like cutting out the paper, and it's like, wait, I didn't read the other side. What's this about Kaido and Big Mom?
Yeah, it might be important to know if you guys weren't fucking little idiots. And Luffy's like, let's go see them again when we're all done with our adventure. And it's like, yeah. Good Nami outfit that we don't, I just, looking at her dress again, they're little, and it's like, oh, we don't see that for very long because she changes outfits a lot, but it's so she gets lots of good outfits, but they don't stick around, so it's like unfortunate.
Yeah. Like I remember, I don't know how much we would have talked about it, like with the character redesigns and whatnot. I know that like in a lot of like the promotional, or I don't know what it was, but like, you know, I feel like I am a lot more on board with Nami's like redesign when it's like she gets cool new outfits. And just like, I don't know, I think that's kind of the case with some of the other characters where it's like just put them in cool outfits and I'll be sold.
No, that they like a lot of the characters do, like, you know, they even the cover for oh no, you have the 3-in-1s, but the cover for 91 has them all in their Wano outfits, and you know, they're all just they're little samurai boys and girls. It's good.
Yeah, I think it's like an interesting just I don't know if theming is the word I'm looking for, but just like all of the character designs and the whole land having this very like uniform look, and like it feels like I don't think stylized is the word that I'm looking for. Maybe it is, I'm not sure, but just
or go on.
Well, because I know that it's like traditional Japanese like samurai
Yes.
get up and whatnot, or like geisha look, or I don't know the words I'm saying, but like it gives the whole arc this very like unique feel in the context of One Piece as a whole.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And also just
absolutely.
like the way that plays in with you know, the framing of like they're playing the instruments at the beginning, and then you see like the curtain falls on Act 1 at the end.
Yes.
It's really interesting as like a structure, and I'm curious to see like how else that I'm curious to see how else that factors in with the rest of it, like the stuff we haven't read.
And especially at the start of it, like the way, like, because you mentioned the stylization, like especially with them entering Wano, the way the water is drawn is different.
Yeah.
Like the koi fish look, you know, like the way their eyes especially like stick out to me, as because I'm pretty sure they're influenced from like the Japanese woodblock art that Oda's taken influence from before. Like he's done at least a cover spread or two, or he did a piece of a Naruto anniversary art in that style. And
oh, okay.
You know, and I think he's taking other cues from it here, but it's just, I don't know, I really like the vibe of Wano as this like really cool, because it's not just a Japanese thing, it's a fantasy Japanese thing, like fucking,
yeah.
You know, one of the first things we see is, you know, we see a Koma Inu, which, you know, the guardian statues they have at like temples and stuff, but it's, you know, an actual giant animal fighting a monkey with a sword, which is like so.
I love the that page where Luffy's like, an animal carrying a katana. This is definitely Wano.
I mean, that's like one of the most correct things he's ever said. And also, like, actually, I don't remember when the chapter was published, but like, it reminds me of Sekiro, which is you know, it's From Software. You know, the same guys who do the Dark Souls and stuff. Where there's the guardian ape, who I'm pretty sure is literally a giant. Does he wield a sword? It's been so long since I played it, but there's a giant monkey boss, and I swear to God he uses a sword. He's also kind of infamous because there's like a jump scare with him. Okay, no, he doesn't use a sword. He just has a sword embedded in his head, I think.
Okay.
But I don't know. Yeah, it's a memorable boss. Let's just say that much. So, right. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Luffy washes up on Wano. You know, gets separated, as he do.
Yeah, I'm like curious how the crew is handled in Wano, because like I know, God, how far back has the crew been split? Was it Dressrosa, Punk Hazard?
It was literally they landed on Dressrosa, they split up, and I think even into Act 1 they have not been fully united.
Yeah, because like the people who weren't around for Whole Cake, aside from Zoro, haven't even like met up with the group yet. But also now it's like Luffy has run off on his own kind of twice now, so he's separated from the crew as well, and it's like, you know, I guess I'm curious to see like when they're all back together, or if that even happens.
Right?
Because I know it's probably a lot harder at this stage in the story to give each individual Straw Hat like a arc within the, you know, each new conflict they enter into.
Yeah, well, because looking back to Whole Cake Island, where you still had only half the crew, like, you know, Chopper had some neat little stuff Nami had some. She was a good as like the backbone, kind of like the one just constantly there for Luffy when the crew was struggling. Brooke had some cryptic stuff and some funny moments, but like obviously it was focused on Sanji, right? Where Wano, I don't think it gives any focus to any specific Straw Hat. Like, we get some stuff for all of them, sure, but, in varying degrees. But there's also, like, a lot of other characters. So, especially, like, if anyone gets focused on, it's probably, Momonosuke and Kinemon, who've kind of been, like, there since Punk Hazard. Like, they've been in the story in some fashion since, and having an effect on it since we got into the new world, pretty much. Like, right after Fishman Island, we get the Luffy Law Alliance, we get Kinemon and Momonosuke, and all of it has been building to fighting Kaido on Wano. So this is like we're finally at Alabasta. Like, they just got into the Grand Line, they met Vivi, and we're finally at Alabasta, right? But for the new world, and it's just that much bigger. And it's a lot. It's 150 chapters.
I feel like this discussion is doing what I expected it would, which is like, me reading the arc, it's like, okay, right, got to get back in the swing of One Piece, and now we're talking about it, and now it's like, yeah.
Yeah, letting my vicarious excitement rub off on you, I guess. So just like, you're like, yeah, Craftsdwarf's into it, I'm going to be more into it. It's like,
well, it's more just like kind of getting back in the mindset where I was previously.
That's true. Yeah, and God, and it's I just I love One Piece. I'm sorry, but yeah, because I'm just like flipping through and like Luffy just taking out these fucking mooks like they're nothing, and like the way the monkey's like angry, and then Luffy's just like, "What did you say?" And the monkey's suddenly like, "Nope, I'm good. Everything's fine. I'm not bad anymore." Also, I just really like the panel of where Luffy punches the lizard and like the gun explodes back onto the guy. Like the way the explosion is drawn. I like that. And then we get introduced to a little baby, Otama, who's very small and good and adorable. I love her. She's just a cute little baby.
No, that scene later on where like with the pliers, it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's God. But yeah, she's I don't know. She's got a good little role here, I think, because obviously, like, Oda's doing his thing where he's like taking the conflict of the whole island and showing it through this one person who Luffy gets attached to.
Yeah.
Like we had Rebecca on Dressrosa. Whole Cake Island we didn't actually need because we had Sanji, but even then we had Pudding, I guess, who was still connected to the the victim of the island, and even though she also had privileges through her position, but it's normal One Piece. It's still in some ways the same story it always has been, and because I think people especially like to be like, oh, it's worse after post time skip, but it's still the same fucking story, which is why you have Otama, who's being the Shushu and Mayor Boodle of Wano, basically, of here is this character we're gonna get attached to, and Luffy's gonna fucking fight for and die for because that's just how he fucking is, and One Piece is good. Sorry. But yeah, she helps explain some of the shit that's going on the island, and God, like, so then we get the scene where she feeds Luffy, and he's give me seconds, and then like she's like, oh, that was it.
He's like, I was joking, like, I'm full.
And well, his expression is like he's obviously disappointed. Like, he's not mad, obviously, but he's like, it's just like, oh. Because it's just a light snack for him.
Yeah.
But then he finds out more, where it's like, no, that's literally like all of the half of the good food she will ever see in a fucking year. She just gave to him because he saved her life, and then he finds out about the whole situation on Wano with the poisoned food and Kaido hoarding resources, and I don't know, just Luffy, because he's like basically goes, I will die for this girl, and it's so good because she's just she's a good person, and Luffy likes food. If you give him food, he will die for you. That's how he's always been. Okay, and it's still really good, and it's even more resonant here, I guess, because of the way you have Kaido as this corrupting force polluting Wano and making it shittier for the people who live there, and it's good. Sorry, but then we also find out she has a connection to Ace, and then we get Hawkins. So we got the not very well didn't go very well because because if you remember, Apu, Hawk, and Kid were going to make an alliance to take down one of the emperors, and then Kaido literally fell on their meeting. And,
right.
Because I think we saw Kid in prison, both before this Wano and then at the end of Act 1. Yeah. And now, Hawkins did not go to prison. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna ally with this guy. I think the guy who just fell on us.
It is really interesting because it comes up later about Kaido taking on all these strong people as his henchmen. Once their spirit is broken. And so it's kind of interesting how here are these two other members of the worst generation, and it's you have Kid who wasn't gonna submit to Kaido and is thrown in prison, and presumably is gonna get into some shit with Luffy, but then Hawkins who's nah, fuck this, I'm just gonna work for this guy. But it's also I don't know, maybe there's something more going on with Hawkins where he's this is probably better for me to do this now and see what I can get out of it than to slam my head into a brick wall.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure what he would have done is he would have pulled up his cards and it's chance of the three of us beating Kaido, 0%. And he's I'm going to be on his side, right? Even if it was maybe 5%, that's not, he knows the odds, but I don't think he's a gambling man, right?
Yeah.
He uses the cards so he doesn't have to take risks. He's very much the opposite of Luffy in that way, where Luffy doesn't give a fuck, right? Luffy will take the 1% chance even if it's not gonna, and because he's insane, that's when the miracle happens, right? Hawkins kind of avoids the miracle in that way because he won't try, because that's the thing. If you think about it, he gave up on his dream. He's he wanted to be, he wanted to go to the New World. He did so. He presumably wants to be king of the pirates. That's what Kid said, is you have to be insane enough to have an ambition like that if you're going to go out into the New World. And Hawkins made it, and he was out there for a couple of years on acting on his own until Kaido fell on him. And that's his dream didn't last. At least, I mean, maybe he has some deeper ambitions, but at least from what we've seen, his dream hasn't lasted. Where Kid is stubborn, he's like Luffy in that way, and that's why they're both in prison. So nice going, idiot. But I don't know. So anyway, we get introduced to Hitetsu, who the blacksmith, Tengu. I don't know. There's just a few gags with him that I like. Obviously, Luffy sees it, he's like, Usopp, no, you're not Usopp. And then there's two panels where his nose is just covering Luffy's face, where because he's expositing, and then Luffy's there, but his nose is just so big, it's just like Oda didn't have to frame it that way, but he did. He's he just can't see his face. It's so silly. I don't know. I don't remember noticing that before, and as I was reading it again, I was just I don't remember it. It was funny.
Yeah, that's definitely not a detail that I quite caught, so that's fun.
Yeah, and of course, as he's talking about, we get the Ace, where he's they tied him up and they ate his food, and then he just breaks down and is like, where can I get a bite to eat? He just let them have their food, and when he could have escaped at any time, and it's just and Ace is a good guy, and I think they even quote a line of his where he's he's gonna help. Ace said he'd come back and help the island someday, and he wasn't able to, obviously, but Luffy's now at a point where he's matched Ace, I think, where he's able to fill those shoes, and because obviously 2 years ago at the war he wasn't able to. He he was still the little brother who had to be protected, but now through Otama we're seeing because what does Otama say when he punches out Hold'em with the Red Hawk? It's you reminded me of Ace, right? Luffy's it's good.
Yeah, I also like how Luffy doesn't ever say, or at least not yet, hasn't said anything about being Ace's brother, because I guess it's in his mind it's well, what does that information really matter to her?
Right.
But he really is just stepping into those shoes, and it's so good. It's so good. And that one fight he has later, I know I'm skipping ahead, but the punch where he's got the flames surrounding him, and it looks just like Ace, and it's
Oh, so I might have mentioned this before, but so apparently the kanji for Red Hawk it's pronounced differently, but it uses the exact same kanji as when Ace does his Fire Fist.
That checks out.
So if you ignore the what's the fuck, I forgot there's a word for because when you see Japanese, sometimes the kanji will have other like symbols above them, like hiragana or katakana, which sort of tell you how it's supposed to be read, especially for shonen manga, which younger readers will read who might not know the kanji. So what they'll do is they'll do like alternate readings like that. So where with Ace does it, it's pronounced a different way, even though they use the same kanji. But yeah, it's basically if you ignore the top ones on the top, it's basically like gum fire fist. But it is it's Red Hawk because it's pronounced differently. But yeah, it's so it's always meant to be a tribute to Ace, but it's still really used really well here.
Yeah. So, I also now going back to where we were, I like how Luffy puts on the kimono and is like, these are the clothes that people wear around here. I'm gonna blend in. And then the other guy's like, no, you're just gonna stand out. That's not okay. And Luffy just leaves.
He takes the sword because he's like, I've got to be a samurai. I'm gonna take this cursed sword that is like like the Kitetsu the second, which is the predecessor to Zoro's Kitetsu the third, and but I was going to say about because you mentioned he wasn't mentioning Ace, and I also think that's important. That's just because how Luffy operates. Like he's doing the things that Ace would, not because Ace would do them, but because Luffy would do them. Yeah, because that's always how he is. Like he, because there have been discussions about how like fate and how that ties in the series, because Luffy seems to have a he's lucky and there seems to be winds of fate blowing behind them. But how I always seen it is like, even if that's true, Luffy's not doing it because of fate. He's doing it because he wants to, and that's always how he's been.
Yeah,
and that's always how he will be. And so so as far as filling Ace's shoes, it's like he's not like he's not trying to, but he just is, and it's because he's Luffy and he's a good little boy. Love him.
And I also like the gag later where Zoro's just like, give me the sword, Luffy. Just let me see the sword. And it just never happens.
Yes, it's fucking Luffy. Not even the first time he's tried to use a sword. But it just doesn't work out for him. But also I didn't even notice this earlier when I read it. But two things I didn't notice. One is that when Hitetsu is trying to like get the sword back from Luffy, his nose is like pushing into Luffy's face.
Yeah.
So that was a gag I didn't notice. And then also Otama's wearing his hat, which is not very many characters get to wear the straw hat. So I don't know, it's cute.
Let's go.
But yeah, then Luffy goes out and he sees the wasteland and Zoro, the reuniting for the first time in over 200 chapters.
Let's go.
No, actually, no, they were there in Dressrosa. 100 chapters. But still, and they're just so happy to see each other. It's cute because Zoro's usually like really serious and stuff, and he's like. He's just so happy to see Luffy. They're friends. They're the first Straw Hat. It's I don't know. It's good. Also, I love the gags and references they make to, because obviously all the food and water is poisoned, and Zoro just didn't notice.
Yeah, he's like, oh, that's why my stomach hurts.
And I think later Luffy says,
in the same moment where Luffy's like, watch out, the food's poisoned, and he's just there eating it as he's saying that.
He's pointing to, this food's poison, nom nom nom. Because obviously we know Luffy's resistant to poison due to his fight with Magellan. I'll learn how to pronounce it one day. But also later when he's talking about how when you become an adult, you'll be able to eat poison, and other people, and one of the other characters no, it doesn't work that way. It does for Luffy, but that's not because he's an adult. He's just, he's so stupid. I love him. Oh man. But anyway, they face off with Hawkins. It's easy to miss because I think I missed it the first time. But when Luffy does his pistol with the sword, you could actually see behind him, one of the guys had their sword cut by Luffy's sword. Because if you remember when Zoro was using the Kitetsu on Logtown, he was talking about how it cuts really easily. even when its user doesn't want it to.
Okay.
It's just a little way to get across how dangerous it is where it's literally like, the sword guy's just like, his sword's in half and he's like looking at it, it's like, oh fuck. Like Luffy's just like he just punches the guy with the sword because it's like and Zoro's bitching at him, and it's
I was more focused on the fact that he just punched a guy while holding the sword. I completely missed the cutting the other sword.
I really like how Oda just constantly does like the little sight gags like that, like because the manga's so dense right now, but like he's still able to have just the tone and the humor there by like, like I always remember the one in Fishman Island when they're on the way down and Chopper like interrupts Brook's skull joke because he was gonna be like, I feel cold even though I don't have any skin, and Chopper like interrupts him and says it before he says that, and Brook's just like depressed, like, and like this is just like in between like other characters having more important discussions, and it's just like I just love that one where it's just like oh man, it's so good.
One Piece's comedy is unmatched.
I've always loved it. But then Hawkins is we know his power with the straw man, at least to the degree of putting attacks on other people, and then of course he turns out he also has an ability that ties to his cards that he's always using, but they are able to get away. Then we get introduced to more Wano characters where we got Otsuru, who I remember this one being talked about back when these chapters were coming out, but apparently there's like a sort of myth or folktale called The Crane Returns the Favor. Have you heard of that one? Or does that sound familiar to you
I
at all?
am uncertain on that one.
Okay. Basically, all I understand is that someone like helps a crane out of a trap, and then like the crane repays them later down the story. The Japanese word for crane is suru. So Zoro helps Otsuru, the crane, and she returns the favor by helping them out with Otama and stuff. So there's a lot of like references to Japanese like folklore and story and myths and stuff in Wano, and so a lot of them I picked up on from like discussion as the chapters were coming out, but I don't necessarily remember all of them because there's some like, I don't know, I remember there's one because there's just a character shows up who's named Benkei, who is basically named a soldier who apparently like he died standing up, basically, and I think there's some other things tied to him and stuff, and I just remember like the way Oda introduces this character and names them, and like with there's something related to this character, it's like if you know all these little details you might have been able to predict it, but he's like playing with things, and like I guess that's the thing, is like he's playing with stories we don't necessarily like know or aren't as familiar to us because we didn't grow up in Japan, we didn't grow up hearing about these stories, like because obviously even someone younger reading One Piece, if he just played them straight they'd be pretty rote, right? So he's like doing these little twists, and like obviously Suru's not literally a crane, she's just a woman who shares the name, but like these are references that people living in Japan would catch, so he's he's going to be not straightforward or do some with some of them, I'm sure. But
that's also really interesting, tying into just sort of like the setting and structure of Wano, and also like like all the the fantasy iterations of like traditional Japanese attire or folk tales, or even the fact that it's like a closed island nation.
Yes,
which it's like how much of that is just taking inspiration from history, and like how much is meant to be like deliberate, like maybe commentary isn't the word, but like it's just interesting how he's incorporating all of these things, and probably like you said, probably some in ways that it's like we can't even fully appreciate not knowing some of those stories, but it just gives the whole setting a real unique feel to it, which makes sense if it's like it's closed off from the rest of the world.
No, for sure. Wano is really cool as a setting, and rereading Act 1 is making me remember I like this place. It's very nice. So anyway, we get more new characters. We get Arashima, the sumo wrestler, and more importantly, Okiku, big lady, waitress lady, also good with the sword.
I appreciated the joke where she tried to hide behind Zoro, and it's like that's not working.
You're like 3 feet taller than me. Stop. She's very good. And then of course we get there's Beppo, a little samurai Beppo with a fur top knot. That's how that works. God, I love slash feel bad for Law in this reading because he's just like, oh no. He's like, oh yeah, the Straw Hats are on Wano. Oh no, the Straw Hats are on Wano. It's just like, what have I done? Like, God, poor Law. He's like, because he's such a serious character, but like in the face of the Straw Hats, like it's impossible. It's
yeah.
The one panel that's just burned in my brain is when they're tying the Chopper after he used the rumble ball to Law's hat, and he just has this like look of just like, what have I fucking done? Why I made an alliance with these people. And it's just like, no. It's like, it was the best movie ever made, but also not for his fucking stress levels, like his fucking cholesterol. Like, this guy's gonna have a heart attack. Oh boy. But yeah, they recover. They get some food. Otama has a smile that needs protecting. Yeah, he was talking to Otsuru where he's like, at least when you're grown up you can handle eating poison. And then they learn more about Wano, and there's the Kozuki clan. Odin, Shogun Orochi is name dropped. If he wasn't before, I don't think so, but maybe. So then Kaido's guys come in, and I need to explain a bit of a meme, because we get introduced to Batman. I don't know if you've heard anything about this character or seen it. Basically, the anime added it. They do what they normally do, and they make the fight scenes longer. And so Batman puts up more. He's a mook, but he puts up more of a fight. So basically, the meme became that he's like Emperor level. Like, because he's literally like, fighting Luffy evenly for a moment, just because of how it was treated in the anime, which isn't unusual. They do that kind of thing a lot, and I understand why. But I just remember like when I saw Batman, I was like, oh yeah, it's this guy who like, obviously like, as from what he like shoots an arrow, nothing lands, and like he doesn't ultimately leave much of an impact in the manga. So I just wanted to say, like, if you happen to see or have heard memes about Batman, it's because of things unrelated to the manga.
Okay. See, like, I thought part of what was, like, so impactful about this section of the arc is how, like, Luffy comes in and does typical Straw Hat things of, like, steamrolling all the underlings, and then, like, Kaido shows up, takes all of Luffy's best hits, and then just fucking takes him down in one shot, and it's like, Jesus.
Yeah. We'll get to that, but that's definitely pretty impactful for sure.
Yeah, because like with Luffy having all the conflicts with these other people, I was like, man, he's running through these guys pretty easily, and then it's like, oh,
that's the curses, the consequences of my own actions. So yeah, so Otama gets taken because she's interesting, for reasons that we come to understand, or at least understand better. And then, they go after her. So then we get a really scene that I think of is really important, at least to what I get out of the arc. So Urashima, the sumo wrestler, is talking to some Mouse Man, Kaido's crew, and he's just like, because he wants, he's really into Okiku, and he wants to marry her and stuff. And he's just like, dang, she keeps turning me down. I even though I'm like wealthy and powerful, and she lives in a fucking shithole. She can come and live with me and everything better. Why doesn't she want me? And he's just like, why the fuck are you pining after this fucking low class woman when you could kill her relatives and like destroy her house and then like make it so she doesn't have anyone else but you? And he's like, oh yeah. So like on one hand, Urashima, yeah, he's a piece of shit because he decides that like this is fine. Right, but what I took from it is because I mentioned earlier, Kaido is a corrupting influence on Wano, as we can see literally with like how he's poisoning the land and stuff.
Yeah,
but this is an example of him being a corrupting influence, like ideologically. I think because Wano it's this closed off nation, and so they've been very isolated. And since they're Japanese inspired, there's like maybe a sense of like honor and integrity and stuff that is now no longer important, I guess. So like Urashima, like he was just like, well, okay, like he's thinking about in this very way of class, right? Like I'm high class, this low class woman should want me, and but then like but he's thinking of things in a more like innocent way of just like, and it's Kaido's guy who suggests that he do things in a less human, like more evil and animalistic way. And so I just think it's just really, I don't know. I just think it's pretty notable with how like Kaido is affecting Wano, like not just its land, but also its people. And like he's making the people, allowing the people of Wano to be worse than they might have been otherwise.
I was also kind of interested, because I could fully expect like some of these characters being introduced and it's like, oh, they're not, they don't seem like they're great people and they're like antagonistic at first, but how many of them are gonna do like the One Piece thing where it's like, yeah, they had a flawed like worldview before, but like when they're like, is it just because like they don't know any better, or like, is there gonna be some sort of like twist with any of these characters that like, if they have a more like positive influence, be that from Luffy or whoever, like, is it entirely, well, maybe not entirely, but like a large part of it, like how much of it is Kaido's influence. And yeah, like you said, that interaction is good at showing that off.
Yeah, because like I guess how I see it is that like, Wano being closed off, they haven't had a lot of influence from the outside, and so Kaido, it's just and then like he immediately gets worse, and just like what he does right after that, he's just like throws his food aside and he's like, I want to eat your pet dog, it's tasty. Give it like, and just like he becomes power mad, and once that barrier is gone, it's just like he becomes fucking a horrible piece of shit, more so than he wasn't great before, but it's just like I don't know, it's just a brief interaction, but it's still, I don't know, it's pretty interesting. So then we get introduced to Hold'em, which I mean, you probably remember, or maybe you remember it back at the start of like Zou, when we first see the island, there was like Gin Rummy, and like a lot of Kaido's men are named after cards or card game, like Texas Hold'em in this case. And obviously Doflamingo's executives were named after like suits. Like you had Corazon, you had Pika, which was I think it was spades, or treble means clubs. So just continuing that theme here. And also we see more of the smile fruits, which are just, they're terrible.
I really liked how the one with the gazelle fruit, can run really fast, but then is just fucking gassed afterwards. And it's like, why don't you build up some stamina?
Right, well, because, I think, I guess that actually works because, like, devil fruits, you eat them and become a part of you, but, like, they are powers you have to work for, and these guys are... Because they're even called gifters. Like, they've been gifted this power, but they're not using it well. Like, Hold'em has a fucking lion stomach that punches him in the balls because he doesn't agree with his own power, right? Like, they're terrible with their abilities because they've just been granted them, and they don't, like, they didn't have to earn, they didn't earn them or work for them, so they're not actually good with their powers. So just a neat little detail. And the way like Hold'em like tortures Otama kind of reminds me of in Luffy's flashback, where Luffy was remember when he was strung up and being punched by the one pirate, and Ace and Sabo eventually rescued him. I don't know, something about that reminded me of, because just a kid being tormented before being saved. But they go into the town, and you get the huge contrast where like the people outside are like fucking struggling, and these people are just like peaceful and happy, feeding off of Kaido's gain, what he's given them, basically.
And I also like how it really just shows like what kind of level these guys are at, because like Luffy comes in and he does his fucking like conqueror's hockey, and they all just drop.
And then he just wants to play sumo, like, because they even mentioned like when he enters the ring, it's like he's undefeated against Usopp, because so he'll just do it for fun with the Straw Hats, probably Chopper as well. But like, he's ready to fucking go. And also, so another good introduction with Urashima. Just, I don't know, I like the way Oda uses his minor characters, because like I talked about Stelly earlier in my fucking Brook video. I talked about fucking what was her name, Margarita or something, like the person whose shadow went into Sindri, and I like went on for, I didn't have enough the anime did not give me enough footage to use for the video, because I had so much to say about this minor character and how like her conflict and like what we see between like, you know, the grief that her shadow was stuck with and how she'd changed like fit into the whole, like it was just a small version of the entire conflict of Thriller Bark. And so like I just like the way Oda will use these minor characters in this way. It's like, I don't know, something, so like Okiku, just, she's cool, she cuts off Urashima's top knot, eat shit, asshole, but also like the expression he makes in the next chapter where he's like crying, like he's legitimately fucking hurt by this, and it's just like it sort of drives home, because I was mentioning like there's like kind of an innocence thing with Wano where, you know, like he wasn't like he could have been a more innocent kind of person, but because of the influence he's had on him by Kaido, he's become evil, and he doesn't really like here he is, you know, he's just facing the consequences of his actions, but he's not prepared for it because he's childish in a way.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just like, and that expression just, I don't know, something about it sticks with me. It's just like really like he's pissed off but also like hurt, and I don't know, like he's a piece of shit, but you know, he could have been a not piece of shit if it weren't for Kaido, possibly. Like he definitely had the potential in him, but I don't know, maybe he could have been better. So it's just like, it just gets me thinking. And he just gets pissed off and tries to attack her, and Luffy steps in and beats his ass, and it's really satisfying. Because fuck this guy. But yeah, so yep, Luffy's sumo slap just sends him fucking flying. I like how Hold'em's like, I don't give a shit about Urashima, I'm tormenting this girl, and then like Urashima comes into his house, and it's like, okay, well I guess I gotta give a shit now. Fucking idiot. Meanwhile, Hawkins is like, yeah, you guys can't actually deal with this, I'm gonna come, like, you know, fucking stand down. He's coming, you know, because Luffy's gonna fucking kick their asses. He knows. But yeah, then we get, you know, Luffy comes in to save Otama. And of course there's it's also kind of representative of the Sabori archipelago, where you know, Luffy was told, hey, don't punch the Heavenly Dragons or they're gonna send a fucking admiral after your ass. But Luffy's Luffy, yeah, because they're like, hey, if you beat up this guy, Jack the Drought is gonna come in, and he's really fucking strong. And Luffy's like, well, he's not gonna let Otama fucking die in front of him, so yeah, like hold it, like, yeah, these guys are mooks. Like, hold him, even though he's like a big headliner. He's just like, nope, Luffy just one shots him. And yeah, with the Red Hawk, and like we talked about earlier, with, you know, Luffy filling in Ace's shoes and saving Otama, very good.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess kind of just a common thing with One Piece, but like a lot of really good 2-page spreads.
Yes.
And like, especially in the chapter that introduces Kaido in that fight, I really love the use of all the 2-page spreads to really just, like, show how fucking imposing this guy is. And then, but it also kind of shows, like, just how much power Luffy's putting out, and for it to, like, not even, you know, not even really scratch him.
Yes. We're almost there. But anyway, before we get there, so I guess we find out why Otama is kind of important is because they jump onto Speed, the horse lady. And...
yeah, I love how it's like, this has never worked on a person before. Like, I've never tried it, and then it's just like, it just works. I love that. Where they just fucking take over a person, and it's like, all right, you work for me now.
Yeah. So, and this is also, guess what? It also works thematically, because when it becomes more apparent later, but like. Because, again, Wano is sort of meant to sort of reflect Dressrosa. And so in Dressrosa, Doflamingo was this god who had his, you know, in his crew, his subordinates who were, like, right under him, and then everyone else he was trying to push down to the level of, like, slave, basically, or nothing. Where Kaido kind of works in that way, where I feel like he's trying to, like, push down people to the level of animals, because he's the 100 beast, he's the beast pirate captain, right? And so I'll point out more things later, but you know, like, even the way, like, with Urashima is like, you know, yeah, just, you know, be less of a human, just be an animal, just, you know, kill and just, you know, raise and destroy, like, you know, and so, like, so the fact that Otama's ability works on animals and it also works on certain members of Kaido's crew is pretty like it might just be I don't know if they I don't remember because it might just be zone fruits. It might just be the smile fruits, which are artificial zone fruits. So I don't know like would it work on because Kaido is a zone fruit user. Would it work on Kaido? Probably not. But the fact it does work on these low tier artificial fruit users who aren't very good at using their powers at the very least. And considering that Kaido pushes people down to being animals and Otama lords over animals, then it's just I don't know, just it's a neat little it's just also one of those neat little fruit interactions that's just it's good.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And then I'm also like curious to see if more will come of that, because like initially it's like, okay, controlling like the animal half, so to speak, like the devil fruit, but then like I could easily see it being like this character kind of gaining more humanity, like being around, Otama, or just like people who aren't, using her as a tool. Like a potential for like an interesting little, just like small character arc for this very minor character. It's good.
Yes. Also, I'm at the page where like, yeah, she's saying how he's just like Ace, and then she like hugs him from behind, and it's so cute. And then we get like Law and Hawkins briefly fighting, and Law's like trying to like damage control. He's trying his damnedest to like undo the harm that Luffy's done by revealing their position and their that they're on the island. And
yeah, he's like, maybe if I could just get rid of Hawkins, then we'll be okay. Maybe we can salvage this.
And then it's like, nope, hold him down. We need to report to Jack. And Law's like, fuck. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, you're good.
No, I just like he's Zoro, and he's like, you. And he's like, oh hey, Law, how's it going? I love the Straw Hats. They're so good.
Yeah, it's like you said that you wouldn't make waves, and it's like it's the Straw Hats. What do you expect?
You'd think Law would have learned his lesson, and like chain them up in a basement somewhere so they can't get out and cause trouble until he needs them.
Like just going to the individual Straw Hat members. It's like, I trust you. I can trust you. We're taking you out.
And literally it's like Luffy and Zoro, the ones who are here doing things. It's like they're the most dangerous in that way. It's like, oh boy. But yeah, then we get they bring the food over to Okabore town, and then we get the sequence of like the fucking like the way despair is turned into hope through the Straw Hats, like the crying children stop crying. The fucking panel with the lady who's about to like kill her baby and hang herself because they don't have any food is fucking like Jesus Christ. But Luffy comes in with the food, and
oh my god, yeah, I didn't even really like process that panel. That's
that's dark. That is dark. Like the fucking noose is there. It's just, but
oh
no,
my
like
god,
Luffy's
yeah,
able to, yeah. But they're able to bring smiles and joy to the people of Wano, and by being good, and Luffy crushes all of Kaido's mooks, including Batman, the Emperor. No, I'm kidding. With the water. So this is also. So I was actually Vinny pointed this out to me. How this like because Luffy's out here giving all these food to people, and if you remember back on Fishman Island, he and Zoro, the other person who's working with him here, they both had really similar lines about how like they don't want to be heroes because they don't want to share. Like, Zoro doesn't want to share the booze. Luffy doesn't want to share the meat. Yeah. But then, like, well, now it's technically Luffy Taro, excuse me. But here he is, like, he literally just, like, he's giving food and water to these people that, Otama was the one who helped him out. But he's still, like, even if it's, like, as Luffy Taro, like, because there's a whole, I don't know, there might be a thing there with just the way that, like, characters have these different identities and stuff. I remember some people talking about that, but I don't have full thoughts on that yet. But just, like, he's being a hero, right? Like, and I think that's even by his own definition of what a hero is. And I just think it's a really neat little thing. Because, it even says, like, we're going to make this a country where you can eat as much as you want every single day. It's like, god damn, which is the same thing Ace said, and good, Luffy.
Yeah, I did think that was kind of interesting, and I'm curious to see where it goes, because, yeah, like, Luffy isn't usually, like, the hero guy, so, I guess, yeah, just interesting to see how that will, factor in later.
See, reading it didn't do it, but talking about it is making me more excited for, like, the rest of the reading, for the rest of Wano. I'm just like, ooh, I'm, looking forward to it. But we aren't quite done. God, we've been here for 2 hours, Mathwiz. It's 20 chapters. It's 20 chapters. It's 20 fucking chapters.
Yeah, I guess I was wrong to think that this might be a shorter recording.
We're back, baby.
Also, before we move on from the, like, Otama and her ability, I do also like the gag where Luffy's like, hey, do this thing. And she's like, I don't take orders from you. And then Otama in the background is just like, please do what he says. And it's like, okay. I'm really interested to see, like, where that, those two characters go.
Yeah. Zoro's like, seriously, Luffy, let me see the sword. Like, just not again.
I'm assuming that, like, later in the arc he'll get his hands on the sword and he'll do some fucking badass shit and it's gonna be cool. But we gotta build it up. Gotta keep him handicapped for now.
Yep, right. Also, I'm laughing at this one panel where, like, everyone's thanking Luffy for the food and Law's like, ugh, pirates doing nice things makes me fucking sick. And Luffy's like, that was nice. And Okiko's like, but it was still robbery though. Because they did. It's the Robin Hood thing. They're stealing from the those who have and giving them to the have-nots, and it's So yeah, they take Okiku and they're going to the Odin Castle. We get a cut to the capital where we see Kaido's kind of indoctrination and how Orochi's version of history with Odin and the Akazaya 9 being bad villains where Orochi vanquished them. And the bad guys died 20 years ago, and now Wano is healthy and peaceful. Lion fucking literally snake. She's literally a snake neck. Like fucking.
Yeah, no, I guess it is kind of interesting in that way, like showing how like history can be twisted, and like it just shows how like like you said with the sumo guy, how like it's all kind of a matter of like ignorance and like and also kind of tying it back to I guess Stelly in that way too, where it's all just kind of like this is the information that they are being told because the people who are in power and have control of the knowledge are able to like twist the narrative in their favor, and it's really interesting. And I feel like I'm just going to be saying that a lot. It's interesting. I'm curious to see where it goes.
It's a good series. And I think I'm going to be on, because like Wano isn't really popular right now, and I think part of it is literally just like the usual, it's the most
because it just happened.
Yeah, exactly. And that's always how it's fucking been, people. I'm pretty sure I talked about it back when we talked about Water 7.
Yeah, I feel like in particular, well, sorry, I cut you off, but like,
no, go ahead.
I remember from when we were reading Whole Cake, I feel like you were, or maybe you weren't expressing it, just like the general fandom like attitude towards it at the time, where we're like, I think I had said it was like my favorite arc at that point, where I know that there was a lot of like post time skip One Piece not really delivering in the same way kind of sentiments, and it's like I don't see it, but I guess it's very different now that I have like a little bit of experience reading weekly manga. I can understand how it's like it's a lot harder to kind of connect the dots on a week-to-week basis. And so if you, like, go through the whole arc... but yeah, go ahead. Continue with what you were saying.
Well, I guess to add on to that point, because a personal example for me is probably Jujutsu Kaisen right now, where I just do not care reading it weekly. But back when I caught up to it, I really liked the arc that I originally dropped it while I was reading weekly because I just was not into it. So it's like, I'm sure that when Jujutsu Kaisen finishes and I'm going to reread it, I'm probably going to enjoy it much more than I am now. But back to One Piece is like, yeah, people were unhappy with Enies Lobby and Water 7 as they were happening. They didn't like how power levels were introduced. They were like, wow, One Piece is different because it doesn't have power levels and form transformations. And now it has form transformations and power levels. And, but it's like now looking back, those are really I really like how, you know, I mean, how the power levels were introduced is just like solid. Like it's kind of also kind of thing everyone else does with power levels, where they don't, the numbers don't matter. That's how it was in Dragon Ball. That's how it was Kinnikuman. Like actual number doesn't fucking matter. Right, that's the point.
And it's kind of like even how power levels were used in Dragon Ball, where it's like they didn't stick around after like the arc or two that they were thematically relevant, but people still hold it to that
because people in the fan base focus so much on power levels, even though at the end of the day in the series, like they don't, like that's the whole point, is the characters who focus on power levels are in the wrong. But yeah, and then form transformations, like now we know, especially like how Gear 2 factors into like Luffy's sacrifices for his crew, like it's really good. And, you know, people like didn't like Frankie. They didn't want him to join the crew. They wanted Polly to join the crew because he's not Frankie. Like, literally, Polly, the character who shows up in, like, one panel of Frankie's flashback, he's going to join the crew, though, guys. Because they just don't like Frankie, and they did not want him to be the shipwright of the Sirats. And here he is, motherfucker, is still here. You know, so people are always like this, you know. And
it says a lot.
But, like...
I was saying it says a lot about, like, that Water 7 arc, even, that, like, Frankie is introduced, like, beating the shit out of Usopp. But it's, like, you know, the crew comes around on him and he, like, becomes a member, and it's, like, yeah,
they're bros now. Like, and yeah, just, like, you know, so I'm not, you know, because, like, I know, for me, like, I did not, like, I love Fishman Island. I did not love Fishman Island even the first or second time I read it, just because, like, not let alone weekly, but even whenever, it took me probably until the Nen Show to really come around and be like, yeah, Fishman Island's fucking good.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you know, I'm in kind of a unique position there where it's like, I liked Fishman Island the first time I read it, but that's because, like, we were going through the whole series to, like, you know, in, not one sitting, but, like, you know, we were going through it in one consecutive go. It wasn't like, I didn't have the experience of reading it weekly.
Right, but you did have kind of, like, because I was able to share my thoughts and observations that I could make largely talking about it, having read through once. So you're getting things from me that you might not have picked up until a reread, right? But yeah, it's just like time, and that's the other thing that I think I was talking with Vinny and this came up, where it's like stuff that happens after the arcs will literally make the other arcs better. Like this, the Reverie makes Fishman Island better. Like, because I know more things that happen to these characters, and, like, you know, I know that Don Quixote Miosgard becomes a fucking Chad later, and he's, you know, so even though he's another piece of shit in the Fishman Island arc, right? Like, that, like, so now reading the arc, I have that and that's true for all the arcs. Like, it's gonna be true for Wano later on, when we know more about, like, how it's affected the whole scope of the story, you know? So it's just, I don't know.
I'm trying to have like a Mathwiz don't talk about Ayakashi Triangle moment.
You can talk about Ayakashi like, Triangle. It's okay. I won't bully
But yeah,
you for
like
it.
I remember, when I initially got into the series and was going through the first few chapters, I remember thinking like, oh, you know, this kind of starts off like in not the best place, and then it like picks up later. But then it's like looking back with context, like, you know, seeing the anime episodes come out. Or even rereading the first volume for it. It's like looking back now that I have the context of where the series goes, and it's like, oh no, like a lot of this was established in the beginning, you know, conflicts, and then is built upon later. And I think maybe at the time that I was going through it, it's just maybe you get that fear of like, oh, I don't know if this is going to be delivered on, or something to that effect. And like, I feel like, you know, in that way, maybe I'm a bit more charitable towards One Piece, because, like, you know, I could see someone maybe, like, going through this first part of Wano, and, like, I even said at the beginning of the podcast, like, you know, I didn't have, like, the warmest reception to it on the reading, but, like, I'm willing to kind of, like, not, you know, like, suspend my judgment until I have the full context in mind, and I feel like, maybe in some way that's because, you know, I'm able to talk to you about it, and get your perspective and things like that.
Have just being able to talk about it with someone else can like verbalize your thoughts, and like, because even with me, like, I read it, I had fun. I'm having more fun talking about it because like it's exciting, like getting to verbalize it and share my thoughts, and having someone else to bounce thoughts of. It's just it's good. I thought I was gonna say something else, but also we should probably get back to the reading. We have a couple chapters left. So yeah, we get some of the, you know, like Kyoshiro, who's one of, you know, Orochi's men, but also kind of shit talking him and talking about the samurai and the scary samurai, laughing about Orochi. They're dead. Who cares?
Oh yeah, this next plot detail, I'm sure the fandom had a time with when it happened.
Oh my god, I get to talk about that. You're right. I forgot about that.
Because like when I read it, I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna take some convincing. Like, how does time travel factor into One Piece? And then it's like, oh, it's a devil fruit. Oh, okay, that's fine. I believe that. And that was kind of it for me. But
oh man. Yes, so we'll get to that. So yeah, they get to the castle, they see the graves. Apparently Kinemon's dead. Oh no. But yeah, and then we even see him, he's like clutching his stomach like a ghost almost, and speaking like, oh, but no, he just has fucking diarrhea from the goddamn poison.
Yeah, it all ties back into the poisoned food. And like, you know, also building off of Luffy's joke of like, well, once you're an adult, you can eat poison, and it's like, no, you can't. But like, you see Lawsmen, you know, having the same issues with the food, but it's like, they're strong fucking dudes, so like, they can eat the poisoned food and be fine. It's just like, Luffy lives in a world of just fucking powerful freaks of nature who can bend reality to their will, and it's that's fucking cool.
I mean, come to think of it, that's been a thing for a while, because like I remember back in Drum Island where it's like, you guys have gotten sick, right? And like Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp are like, no, that's never happened. I don't. What's a cold? What's a like? They've just. You guys are fucking monsters. And like, you know, even in Drum Island, it's like Luffy's like, that's how it starts before like Chopper is able to accept himself being a monster because Luffy's a monster, right? Like he's a fucking freak of goddamn nature, even without his devil fruit, right? Like he's a fucking weirdo. Like the fucking
this
gag
is just
in
reminding
Whole
me
Cake
that I want to make that video on Drum Island so bad.
Ooh, like you just reminded me of the gag in Whole Cake Island where like Luffy and Brook drink milk and their bones immediately regrow, and they're just like, the human body doesn't work that way. Yeah, they're fucking freaks.
I love One Piece. It's so good.
It's so silly. But yeah, so yeah, Kinemon is you know, shocked to see Kiku. And yep, they know each other. We see the Whole Cake crew comes back, Sanji and Brook and all them.
Oh yeah, I also find it interesting that like, you know, I guess just per the nature of like how everything was tied in post Punk Hazard to now, that like Carrot is still around, and I'm kind of curious like where that like what were they called? Like what were their people called? Just how the whole like Animal Kingdom stuff.
Yes. Because we did
the Minx. Yeah, that.
Yes.
That was the word I was looking for.
Like Inurashi, the dog Dogstorm showed up.
And like Cat Viper was mentioned as well. Like he'll probably be there at some point. So just like, God, we really are getting like the culmination of just several arcs leading into this.
Yeah, the last like 300-400 chapters. Yeah, it's huge.
So I could maybe also understand how like, you know, weekly readers are probably like, there's a lot of stakes going into Wano and this needs to pay off. And especially like, you know, some people can get very particular about like, this is how I imagine things going and things are going to happen here.
Because I absolutely had ideas and things that went into, you know, going into Wano that didn't pan out.
Yeah.
But reading it weekly, I just kind of like, I know that's not going to be especially like, it's really not until One Piece finishes that I'm going to get a read through that really like, this is my thoughts on One Piece. And even then, like, who knows how years after One Piece ended, I might feel differently. So even as things were not panning out the way I expected, I'm just the kind of person in general, just like, let the series take me places and I'll figure it out later. You know, I'm just like, I try not to hold a series to a preconception because I think, you know, I found you know, like Naruto, the Nen Show, that was huge for me, right? Where we went into Naruto having these ideas of it and we walked out of Naruto being like, that was fucking good. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, and then we've only gotten more and more appreciation for Naruto as, you know, the years have gone on, right? And so I just try to have that attitude with lots of things and it's helped me enjoy a lot of things that Sword Art Online is one of my favorite anime now, okay? Like, and if I had like preconceptions or certain ways of thinking, I might not have felt that way. So it's like, you know, it's just helped me find a lot of things that I really like. And so, you know, I'll see how I feel about One Piece when I finish. So yeah, Kinemon mentions that, you know, they crossed through time from 20 years ago, and then he explains that, you know, he talks about Odin and how he sort of, you know, took over a criminal district called Kuri and built the castle and became the daimyo of that region. Sort of, and he actually tells most of the flashback like off screen. Apparently, like we will get the Odin flashback later, which I think I'm pretty sure you know about because I made an Odin video. You can't be like, oh yeah, we're not getting. Sorry, I can't hide it, but it's not really a secret either. Then we get Inurashi talking about it too. Odin's Wano is too cramped, and just little tidbits for later.
And I also like how Zoro got lost again.
He just
like he was riding with them and then somehow is gone.
He's helpless. One of the strongest people in the world, and he just fucking can't get his shit together. But yeah, so Orochi executed Odin. For them, it was months ago, as he says, and Toki, Kozuki Toki, Odin's wife and Momonosuke's mother. Also, they mentioned Lady Hiyori, who Momonosuke has a sister, apparently. And yeah, she uses her ability to send them to the future. And so yeah, what did you think about that? Because you talked a little bit earlier, but I wonder if you had any more to say.
I mean, it's definitely like One Piece doing time travel is unexpected, but I feel like, like part of the thing with One Piece of like going to new islands and kind of seeing new like sects of people and different ideas being explored and things like that. I feel like I'm willing to see where all this goes because I know that like this wouldn't be the first time that One Piece has done something different. Even if like time travel of like the thing of what I can remember with One Piece, it definitely feels like the most out of place, I guess, but like not necessarily in a bad way. It's just very unexpected. And
right,
like and the fact that like it's a devil fruit, but like the devil fruit user didn't like she said that she was willing to stay and like burn with Odin, like she wasn't gonna use the ability on herself.
Yes.
So it's kind of like Oda's already like written it out that it's like this is just a one-time thing. I'm definitely willing to see how it all works out. Like I'm not I maybe like raise an eyebrow at it, but I don't think I'm like writing it off as like no, this is terrible.
Yeah, so yeah, that was basically for me where it's like again I trust Oda as a storyteller. I've been satisfied with One Piece for fucking how long since so it's just like even if it's a little it is a little eyebrow raising, but it's not like he hasn't even done sci-fi stuff before. Like Kuma's a cyborg like in this ostensibly fantasy setting, like so it's never mind Frankie like laser beams, like so. And I think what makes it work story wise for me is that like she mentions that like she can only go forward basically, which is like what all of us are doing. Like that's just how time works. So she's basically just accelerating it, really. Like she so like which as far as time travel goes, like once you start dealing with the past, that's where shit gets fucky. And Oda like he sidestepped that. He avoided that because apparently her power manipulates time, but it only goes forward. And we only see this where it's like so you get like Momonosuke and Kinemon who they're from the past. They're and that's really it. And sure enough, the chapter came out. People lost their fucking minds. The chapter after that came out, it was perfectly fine. Immediately, like literally a week. Literally a fucking week. You just had to wait a week and it all would have been perfectly fine.
Because of that last panel where it's like, we're from the future and it's like, oh my god, how, why,
And I think it was Mr. Moorish who was doing. He did a few chapter reviews. Good One Piece YouTuber I mentioned before. But his review, I believe in his review for chapter, what would have been? Hold on, let me look up the number. Yeah, step 920. He basically just like rants about the people who are just. I actually never listened to the rant, but I'm pretty sure. Maybe it wasn't him at all. I feel like it was though, but I'm pretty sure he just like went in on all the people who. Because again, going back to how people feel about Wano right now is like time makes the story better. When we have more of the story, the stuff before it will have been made better. And this is just a very like 1-2 example of that, where literally just have, you raised an eyebrow, you had some doubts, I'm not going to say I was like, oh, it's going to be completely fine. Like, I was like, okay, that's weird. I'll wait to see what happens. I waited to see what happens. Perfectly fucking fine. What do you know, right? Like, just fucking wait. Have some goddamn patience. You're reading a story it's older than most of you.
There's like a meta element to this where, like, mankind can't go in the past, they can only go into the future, and it's like this whole thing with time and people like just having to wait a week and not lose their shit over the fact that time travels in One Piece. It's like maybe they should have time skipped a week. And
if I had Toki's power, would I move into the future to read more One Piece? Perhaps. But also, I'd like the. I don't know. I need my. What about my backlog? I need to finish my backlog. I need more time for that. I can't throw away my time. But I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, that's really it. It's just people just being kind of impatient, and I don't know. It's whatever. It's they've hopefully realized that they were incorrect, but maybe some people will never learn. I don't know. I don't follow discourse anymore. I don't know how people feel about the current stuff at all. So maybe it's beloved, maybe it's hated. I don't know. It's fine. Whatever. It is what it is.
I guess that can maybe be where the comments can help us out. Like, what's the current discourse?
Because I will say, like, I'm not going to say I'm not going to read the comments. We're just not going to do a bit where we just talk about the comments. Like, we might still bring up comments. We just won't do it as like a part of, it won't be part of the episode structure like normal. It's just going to be a thing that we might do. So sorry, just wanted to reiterate that in case I didn't say it earlier.
I just, because you said it, I had to check, and One Piece is also older than me by a few months.
I was wondering about, because I make the joke because on the Weeb Club I do the Pokemon podcast with Nun where we're playing through the Pokemon games.
Yeah.
On the first episode I made fun of the fact that I've been playing Pokemon longer than he's been alive.
Oh my god.
Not even that it's older than him, because I remember when Pokemon was new, and I was playing Pokemon Yellow literally before he was born. So, I did not know about One Piece before you were born, obviously, but it's older than you, so that's funny. All right. But anyway, they Kinemon talks about how they got to Wano, and they still had some allies, but then in the process of trying to figure shit out, they literally got separated, and they you sort of see the backwards journey that led to the meeting on Punk Hazard. But now they have allies, and they're gonna do the raid. They're gonna, on the Fire Festival, they're gonna attack Onigashima and kick Kaido's fucking ass, and it's gonna be great. That's exactly how everything's gonna work out.
I also thought it was interesting how like when they were doing sort of the flashback of like, this is what's going on, and then having to like tie it all back to everything that had happened like in the arcs before this, I thought just really like put it into perspective that it's like, a lot has happened that has all been going into this.
And it's gonna be a lot, and we got a lot more to go. Like we literally have like 120, 30 chapters left.
Like now I'm just imagining going back to reread like Punk Hazard and being introduced to these two for the first time, and it's like, oh, this is the context for all this now.
No, remember when Kinemon introduced himself as Momonosuke's dad? Like, that was a whole thing. I was going to mention the time travel. Apparently, someone actually predicted the time travel thing because they were talking about Gold. I think it was during Zoe, and they mentioned Gold Roger, and Momonosuke's like, I met Gold Roger, and they're like, you're 8. You can't have met Gold Roger, but he was born 28 years ago. Roger, he was like, he very reasonably could have met Gold Roger. And in fact, now that we know about the time shit, he most likely did. So I just want to point out, someone actually predicted that. And I think I've maybe brought that line up knowing the later context as like, haha, it's funny that Momonosuke thinks he met Roger somehow. Haha, and you're like, yeah, that's funny. and I'm like, I do that all the time, Mathwiz. Because it's not just for me, because I know there's obviously most of the people watching probably have also caught up to One Piece. Anyway, Kinemon decks out the whole Cake Island crew in their Wano outfits, like Brooks is a ghost, and Nami's a ninja, of course, and like Kinemon's being a fucking pervert piece of shit as is usual. He mentions the other.
Chopper's so cute. Chopper's so fucking
yes.
cute. It's just like, I'm a ninja, and it's like, yes, you are.
Little baby, little Chopper. Yeah. And then we get into Shinobu, and Kinemon mentions Ashura Doji, Denjiro, and Kawamatsu. They're the rest of the samurai they're looking for. Then it cuts to Jack's arrival with in his brief fight with Shutenmaru, the thief, where he's pretty fucking strong. Like I mean, Jack's whole thing is like, I don't know, he's like the jobber, I guess, of Kaido's crew. Because he's really strong, and like the way he was introduced on Zou, like beating, Inarashi and Nekomamushi and like torturing them and shit. But then like after that, it's like, okay, first he got this shit kicked in by an elephant, and now he's literally like getting beaten up by a character who was just introduced.
Yeah.
So unfortunate. And then the fucking page at the end of the volume where like it's it's not just Jack. It's fucking Kaido.
Yeah.
And, God, I remember like it's still the spread is just like, I don't know. I like the presence that like big fucking dragons, like the long kind of Eastern style dragons have.
Yeah.
Like just like the weather changing, the fucking he's taking up the whole sky, and just like the details on his horns and his scales is just like intense. Like the presence Kaido has is really good. I like his dragon design quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a great introduction, and it is a great spread.
Like, I don't know, I've never seen a dragon with tattoos before. It's fucking cool, okay? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I was looking at the next page and they're talking about Kaido's appearance, and Law's like, they blew our cover over there, and like Sanji's like bitching at Law, like, what kind of shoddy operation are you running? And I'm like, okay, motherfuckers, listen up. You, of all fucking people, the Straw Hat Pirates, do not have room to criticize me. And they're like, oh, right, Luffy. Never mind. It's like, I like the dynamic they have, where just like, they know Luffy, and Law has to deal with it, and it's just like, I don't know, it's so funny. But yeah, Luffy and Law go off. Kaido, oh yeah, so you were mentioning, I think you brought up the recruiting earlier, well, mostly by breaking his spirits, but you also get the little bit where Kaido is trying to recruit Shutenmaru into his crew, because he recognizes he's strong, and then he's also just fucking drunk, and like literally like last chapter you had this fucking impressive spread of Kaido, this horrible monster, the leader of the Beast Pirates, and then here he's like, join my crew. And it's just like, I ain't drunk. And just like, again, it's just like, I love One Piece for that, where it like, there's characters like Doflamingo and Law who they act really serious. Like Doflamingo, I can't really think of a humorous moment he was involved in, so that you get characters like that. But then like here's Kaido, and it's just like, yeah, one of the strongest people, the strongest creature in the world. And he's just like, nope, he's goofy. He's goofy too. And just like that fucking face, it's just like the detail. Like it's still got the dragon details, but he's also just like, he's just got such a dopey expression. I love it. And also, I think I might have mentioned this before, but it's been fucking 3 years since we recorded an episode, almost 4, for One Piece. So I'm just gonna mention it again. But I like how, because like Luffy's always been like recruiting talented people and just asking random ass fucking people to join his crew. And I feel like the only characters we've really seen that trait in are literally the emperors. Like, because we've seen, like, Big Mom has her family, like, she's constantly, like, marrying off her children. Like, here we have Kaido literally asking, a random strong person that he recognizes, like, hey, join my crew. And then we know about he has a system for breaking the spirits of people and forcing people to join his crew. Shanks was on Whitebeard's crew, literally asking, like, fucking Marco, like, you want to join? You want to ditch Whitebeard? Like they're always like, with the flashback with Ace, where Ace is literally trying to kill Whitebeard while on his ship, and Whitebeard's still he's like getting him to join his crew just by keeping him around, right? Like I just think it's really cool that like Luffy's in that way. Luffy's kind of always had this capability of being an emperor just by like looking for talent and trying to get people to join him. Yeah. And that's just, like, Kaido doing it here just reminds me of that. and it's I don't know, it's just like, yeah, Luffy's good. And you know, it's just like, it's, yeah, I think it's really old. Like Blackbeard I think is like that too, but it's just like, I don't know, it's specifically a trait that I've only remember seeing in the emperors. So yeah, or characters who would become emperors, but yeah. So anyway, Hawkins mentions Odin Castle to Luffy, or no, to Kaido. I remember the characters in this manga. And Kaido's just like, oh yeah, fuck that place, I'm just gonna blow it up.
Yeah.
So it's like, and like the way Luffy responds to it is like, obviously like he was gonna fight Kaido anyway, but like Law's like, no, we need to calm down, and Luffy's like,
yeah, he just immediately,
yeah, oh yeah,
yeah, you're right. What he says before
that. Or after that, because he's like, after like Luffy punches Kaido, and then like Law is like, hey, what the fuck, man, we need to get out of here, and Luffy's like, we could have just lost all they could all be dead by, we don't know. And so it's like, but if and his reasoning is like, well, if we take down Kaido now, then we're all set, and doesn't quite work out that way. But you know, I understand Luffy's logic, right?
Yeah.
Like Luffy, like I call him dumb all the time, but like he's got a brain in there, and it doesn't it's not a bad brain. He just doesn't give a shit. You know, so like but yeah, like he just fucking conks Kaido on the head, and it's like, yep, this is our first meeting between Luffy and his rival emperor and the main antagonist of the arc, and he's just like, bonk. And then yeah, to rub salt in the fucking wound, Kaido also fucking brutalized Otama and Speed for no reason. He's just like, God, piece of shit. And then yeah, we get round 1 of Luffy versus Kaido, and yeah, like you kind of talked about it already, where it's just like, yeah, Luffy just goes off on him. He pulls out Gear 4. He like, Kaido fucking just lets it happen. He gets knocked on his ass, and then he just gets right the fuck back up, and he's like, nope, you're a fucking disappointment. King of what? It's just fucking one-shots him. One-shots Luffy. Like, because Blackbeard was even saying, like, oh, Emperor, I don't think you're ready for that, Luffy. And Kaido just kind of proves that right, where it's like, no, Luffy is not an Emperor yet. Because otherwise, this wouldn't have been over that quickly. It's just like, yeah, you said, it's just, yeah, because Luffy, because he's gotten beaten up and lost before, but, it's like, even when, like, he loses to Lucci in Water 7, like, I don't feel like that's, like, as, you know, like, because he just kind of got, like, knocked out and stuck in a building for a while, right? Like,
yeah.
This is much more of, like, a definitive loss. Like, the only times Luffy's lost like this is, like, Aokiji, fucking, you know, the Paramount War. Like, I don't remember him losing just outright like this to the main antagonist of the arc. That he's gonna, you know, fight again later. So it's just like, yeah, it's definitely impactful. But even then, like, it doesn't completely take, like, Luffy's fucking using Conqueror's Haki while unconscious.
Yeah, that was so cool.
And he's like, he's still glaring at me, even, you know, is it an indomitable spirit or an empty bluff? And just, I don't know, Kaido, like, recognizing Luffy and that he needs to, you know, quash his spirit is good. And then we see the response, and you know, everyone's fine, of course, as is expected.
You know, now I just had the thought, like, just knowing how Oda does things, I'm like, I wonder what the reason is for Kaido wanting to be drunk all the time. Because, like, you know, it's integrated as a joke here, and, like, you know, maybe in some way it kind of facilitates Luffy being able to attack him like that a bit, but, like, there's got to be a reason for it.
Yeah. Also, because I don't know if you've seen what Kaido's dragon form looks like in color, but on the cover of Volume 92, it's he's blue, which is kind of an unusual color for a dragon. But what some people were mentioning is because apparently, I've just heard that if you drink a lot, like, your skin might sometimes take on a blue coloration.
Oh.
So it just kind of works out in that way.
Interesting.
But anyway, then yeah, so everyone's fine.
Sanji just fucking
everyone, like,
rescuing the girls, and then it's like, what about us?
Fucking shit.
And I didn't notice it first, but I see how, like, Chopper's fucking, like, he's done his, like, ball form, and so you just kind of see his. You just kind of see his face, and he's, like, freaking out, but he's like, everybody's on Chopper.
But it's just like, yeah, his face and his two arms, and it's like, ah. Yeah, it's just, no, it's definitely, like, it looks funny even in full detail, but in the low detail, it's also funny. But then Inuarashi saves Otama after she's been God, and he's pissed off at Kaido. Then the news gets out about Luffy, and the fucking faces they make. And even Robin having another goofy moment. I think people are not unhappy about this because they don't care about her actual character arc, and the fact that she's like her being more like the Straw Hats is a good thing because they're her family, and it's like God damn, it's so good. Like it's even on
I think it's really funny that they all have the same reaction where it's like, oh, Luffy's on the island, what?
And then and got his shit kicked in, and they're like it's just so and so like Zoro fucking like spitting out his food so I'll come back to this because this is actually important for reasons, but we're almost done with the chapter, so I'll just finish it. So we see the prison where they're using the slave labor. Luffy's dragged in. There's a prisoner with
oh
fish
my
bones.
God, I love the bit where it's like you're supposed to take out the bones, and they're like, why do we take out the bones? What's the point of that? And then like you see he just fucking spits him out and stabs a guy.
It's fucking like, because they'll fucking kill you with fish bones. It's like, oh, who the fuck is this guy? We need to know. And then of course Luffy gets thrown into a prison cell with Eustace Captain Kidd, and it's like, oh hey, it's you. These two the two rivals from the worst generation, and it's like, let's go. So one last thing before we cap out the reading is there's the 3 panels where they go all Frankie, Robin, and Usopp all go huh. So in the original Japanese they go ha, which is similar sound, but makes less sense in English, so I understand the change. But so this is a reason for the act theory, basically, I'll call it. So basically how Kabuki act structure works, and I'm literally just going to read from this Google page I pulled up on the afyp.org. It's literally like just the first thing that popped in Google. So how Kabuki act structure works is the Jo is the first act, which is a slow opening that introduces the characters and story. The Ha, acts 2 through 3, speed up the action and leading to a great dramatic moment or tragedy in Act 3, with battles being common in Act 2 or 4. So basically, you have Frankie, Usopp, and Robin all going ha, that's basically like kind of referring to Acts 2 through 4 of a Kabuki play.
Yeah.
And then then there's the final arc, the Q, which wraps up the story in a quick and satisfying conclusion. So basically, people, because he ended Act 1, and then he called attention to the acts with the 3 Ha's, which are the middle part of a Kabuki play. People thought that, oh, okay, so he's going to do a Kabuki play, and Wano's going to be 5 acts long. As you know from our listing for the chapters we're going to be reading, Wano is in fact not 5 acts long; it's 3 acts long. So I thought that that does kind of change how I because comparing how I'm going into it right now, rereading it, and how I was reading it weekly, there's a pretty big difference in 5 acts and 3 acts, right? Because I was expecting it to be 5 acts long for a good while. And then it got to the point where, okay, if it's 5 acts long, then Oda's fucking insane. So Act 3 is probably going to be the end of it. And it was the end of it. So, the idea was that it would follow the structure. So then people were expecting, obviously the actual end of the arc. If it was Act 3 in a Kabuki play, it would just be, the middle, right? So that's but that's not how it worked out. So, looking back, I think what Oda was trying to get across from this chapter was that it's not a 5 acts play. It's still it's basically the 3 acts, but instead of having a Jo ha 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 Q, it's just the 3 acts of just ramping up the action and just having the battle. And because even the way because if this was meant to be an Act 1 of a Kabuki play, I just said, the Jo is a first act is usually a slow opening act that introduces all the characters and stuff, but we already have the characters introduced to us. It's not slow at all. There's lots of action and fighting even as it is, right? So I understand, again, I kind of just was in line with the theory for a long while, but looking back and seeing, it just, it doesn't make sense to me anymore. And I understand why I thought it that way, but I was wrong. And I think, a lot of people were wrong. And maybe part of the reason people are unhappy with certain things with Wano is people don't like being wrong. And I don't blame that, but, I just try to be more open-minded than that. So that's just it. So as far as the acts goes, so that's my interpretation regarding
part of me kind of wonders if, maybe like one of the arcs sort of establishing things before this, like maybe like Zoe or something, like could that even be counted as like the actual like first act, or not really? Does that sound
right? No, but even you could, but also it was also so long ago that it's, it's kind of weird. Like, do we count everything from Punk Hazard to Whole Cake Island as the Joel arc, the Act 1? And it's like, maybe. And then where's Act 5? Because Wano is technically already over. So it's like, because I guess the thing is that Wano it's its own arc, but it's also a just honestly a small part in a much larger story, right?
Yeah.
And I think so because like I said before, is like like Fishman Island was made better through the ways the characters and conflicts continued on from after Fishman Island and were built up to before. Like we're gonna see these characters again, most likely, right? Even if like the Straw Hats leave Wano and they don't bring all these characters with them, but we're probably gonna see them again. Like there's reasons to believe that I can't say obviously, but that's just, I don't know. Like, so yeah, it just being 3 acts of a kabuki play is like, it's also, yeah, again, it's part of a larger story. So, but anyway,
I just turned the page in my volume and I'm looking at the start of the next chapter and I'm like, So
No.
definitely, like, as soon as we're done recording, I might just like start reading the next section.
Oh, I see why. Oh, shit. Oh, because I did tell you that there's in-between arc stuff between the acts. So, yeah, we will start off with more of the in-between stuff. And I'm looking ahead and I'm like, oh, there's stuff I want to talk about. But anyway, did you have any final thoughts on the reading?
I mean, definitely after our discussion, I think I am more interested in it than I was before the discussion. So
me too.
That's cool.
And that's coming as someone who's already read it before. So yeah, I'm even more hyped for now.
This will be a short episode.
I mean, we've got parts to cut out, but it's still going to be 2.5 hours long. So give or take for 24. That's 10 minutes a chapter, Mathwiz. How does that doesn't even make any sense? Doesn't make any sense. But anyway, all right. Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for returning. Thank you if you're new. Thank you for listening. And again, reminder for patrons to send me your picks. Hopefully, we'll have a server invite, maybe, perhaps, in the description, and also other reminders for myself: the pause and select and that 4-act structure videos. And I'll probably link the fucking kabuki thing I just found. Whatever. Anyway, thank you for listening. We will see you next time.